Do you want to be a part of the CoCo community? Sure, we all do. So join this free weekly live talk show to find out how easy it is to watch at home and learn about your color computer. At the CoCoNation, more than 9 million men and women have participated in the community without setting foot outside their homes. And now at home in your spare time, you can see what's happening, or even join the discussion. Choose from any one of these segments: panel intros, project updates, acquisitions, CoCo thoughts, featured interviews and events, the Game On Challenge, news, Ron's Garage, CoCo commercials, show coverage, panel goodbyes, or you can join one of our extra shows. You can choose from the Game On Challenge Live or CoCo Tech. Join the CoCoNation right now.
Click the link for the free information TJB Chris spoke about. Then decide if you want to watch the CoCoNation Live Show, the world's leading live weekly talk show featuring the Tandy color computer, its siblings, cousins, and red-headed stepchildren. Visit thecoconation.com. There is no obligation and no salesman will visit you. Visit thecoconation.com.
The CoCoNation show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCoNation show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCoNation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCoNation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CoCoNation show, episode 417. Yeah, I guess we're time to start.
It's been so rainy. It is kind of that.
Yeah, it's muggy here too, which is good actually because it's helping the forest fires finally. But
yeah, I had to get out in the yard at 7 this morning to get finished before the storms came through. I'm sure the neighbors appreciated that.
like our rain's hitting this afternoon, but we got a thunderstorm warning now too. So
yeah. Let's see. On the panel today, we got yours truly. Next over, we got Marco.
Hello there, everybody. Glad to be here today.
And Ron Deluxe.
And likewise, I'm glad to be here today too. Ron Super Deluxe.
Next row, we got Alan.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the show. And you know how hard it is to be next after Ron? Because I am not Deluxe. But then there's Ron.
Oh, you're in paradise. Come on.
I'd like to be, but it's June. It gets hot here. Paradise on fire.
And traveling through the bluegrass, we've got Qui-Gon.
Greetings from Interstate 81.
Okay. And we got
live traffic reports later today.
That sounds like a biography or something.
Keep an eye out for the Davenport.
Hopefully there's no nightmare highway up here.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh, let's see. Rick, you're up next.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just keep in mind this week's HTML error 417, expectation failed.
That's our show every week.
Exactly. We got
That's why I don't have expectations on this show.
Tell us more about
these are always met.
Tell us more about your dead stock.
We'll do that in
a minute. Okay.
All right. Next row, we got L Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
And Bob Emery.
Howdy, folks. Welcome.
And last but not least, we got Frederick.
Hello.
Hobbyist.
The beardist, I'm going to call him.
Yeah.
Wow, no, I should call Rick the beardist. What am I saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what I look like without a beard.
The beard quotient is rising. It's good.
Frederick and I are just pikers compared to, Rick there.
Yeah. Ron's pretty close.
Yeah, I got some stuff going on.
All right. In the chat, we got Wayne Campbell, J.E. Jones, Jim Rye, 8-Bits in the Basement, Scott Cooper, Peter Willard, Chris Dries, Marco, Tom Eric Gunderson, Brian Walsh. And that catches us up. Where is everybody today?
I think we're getting dangerously close to summer holidays when we see a lot of people start dropping off because, some people like to actually get outdoors and see that bright, shiny orb in the sky.
They have,
or in our case, dark gray clouds with lightning.
Yeah. You guys remember Mikey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He made this WeFax thing for me. He said, "Do you think you can decode this?" And he didn't tell me what it was. So I decoded it, and it turned out to be this.
Cool.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
That's a Bruce Mikey collaboration almost.
Yeah, WeFax with a twist.
Nice.
I will mention before we continue on, though, Ken Waters will be showing up a little bit later. He's just away, I think, for the first hour or so.
Yeah, I think Jim Rye got it. Big room with bright light. No thanks.
Yes. Avoid the big blue room. It's evil.
Oh, let's see. First up, we got updates and acquisitions. Let's see. How about Bob? Okay.
Or not. Oh, there he is.
How about Rick?
I'm here.
Oh, there's Bob.
So, let's see.
Surprise.
First of all, yeah. All right, let me switch cameras here, and of course my internet appears. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. USB.
And William Athing has joined us in the chat.
Okay.
As is Julian Brown.
So just
And
first
David
up,
Lord.
a quick, welcome new guys. I got my audio adapter for my RGB to HDMI. Went ahead and threw in just an RCA plug because it's a lot easier for us CoCo guys.
So that plugs into the back of the CoCo on the audio port, and then like on a CoCo 3 or one with a composite,
Yeah.
and then merges
Then
it with the
here's
HDMI.
just the audio there. Yeah. For the CoCo 2, you would have to have some sort of a composite with audio adapter built in to get that audio out.
So what
that's
made you decide to use a red plug?
It's what I had in my parts drawer.
Oh, okay.
What
He was out of plaid.
Same reason Radio Shack used it for their video output. So,
but this is an audio, right?
Because
right,
not to be confused.
Right.
Because everybody uses red for video.
Right.
Because red is right. So we got the CoCo 3 cable. The only thing, you got your horizontal and vertical sinks combined with diodes. And then you've got the CoCo 2, 1 and 2 adapters. So this could just solder onto the bottom of a VDG chip. This plugs right in. And I'll be showing this again in an upcoming video, but this is really crystal clear. Nice video coming out of a CoCo 1 or 2.
Cool.
Do you have plans on GitHub or something?
I don't have plans particular. So what I'm going to show next, let me switch over to my desktop.
Oh, is this something you're planning on selling while you're getting your desktop ready?
I'm not selling it. Other people sell the RGB to HDMI.
No, I meant your little adapters and stuff, for like the cables for doing the sound and stuff.
William Athing asked, isn't the audio on the RGB header for the CoCo 3?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
That board there, that thin circuit board, is for the CoCo 2 to go underneath the VDG for just the video.
Right.
That's why it has the red plug for the audio.
So I would still, my breakout doesn't include audio at all. Let me transition here. Here we go.
Have you shared with Brian Weisler your camera that you're using? Because it works really well.
Are you
All right,
thinking
so
something
this
there,
is the
Ron?
this is the RGB to HDMI GitHub. So if you looked at the RGB to HDMI, you saw the labels I had printed on there, and I have been asked about where I got those, and it's actually not that easy to find when I went back to look for them. But in the actual GitHub, in contrib/Richard Hallis, is this PDF. So if you have an RGB to HDMI and you want labels for it, there's that PDF. I put that into Photoshop and customized it for my clear case. But I just wanted to point that out. This is also, if you go to, zoom out. Go to the wiki, and that's where it tells how to make all the cables as far as pinouts and whatnot. I do have more of my VDG breakout boards. If anybody wants a breakout board or two, just drop me a DM on Discord. Got plenty of them. What next? Next on the list, I have, let me switch back to my camera. Okay, so some of you already know that I think I talked about this on the channel before. This is version 2B of my keyboards. And I have a few of these kind of built up, ready to go out. And when I say built up, I'm going to open this up because I'm actually going to build this live after we're done talking about stuff here.
You're not to be.
Got my little plastic spacers that make it the same thickness as the original base plate. The LED is already mounted. There's a cable and socket included with every keyboard.
So the LED is a light, like a light on in the computer?
It's an RGB LED that is controlled by a little Pro Mini microcontroller.
That's when you designate the speed, right?
Yeah, basically it shows a nice little soothing RGB pattern at normal speed, and then when you go to double speed, it kind of flashes yellow to red, yellow to red. And then I haven't actually got my Gimme Z to verify it yet, but in triple speed, it's to be flashing a really fast red, 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 kind of like the heartbeat.
Warning, warning.
Yeah.
Meltdown imminent.
Do not use your discs right now.
Will Robinson. Warning.
Yeah. So these are version 2B keyboards. It's basically the same as the ones that I released originally. Everybody got the version 2 to begin with because version 1 was a little messed up. 2B is just slightly tweaked a little bit. The location of some keys is moved. But I really wanted to talk more about the next version that I've been working on. So I'm going to switch back to my desktop here.
So 2B or not 2B is not the question because everybody got the 2B.
You're gonna win 3, yeah.
Yeah, it's 2B or 3.
Everybody got 2. The 2B is there's only one person that has a 2B right now other than myself.
Aren't they special?
We're almost up to the destruct code.
All right. So I'm gonna,
well, he's already going with red alert.
I can find my damn. It's hard on a dual monitor setup here. Okay. So that's going to be version 3 there. Oh, I wanted to show first before I get to that. Let's switch back.
So have you called this like an emery board or anything?
No.
I couldn't help it. Sorry.
They're all emery boards, Sean.
Yeah, I guess so.
I did get some new blank break keys in the correct profile for my keyboards. The ones I use, I usually use XDA profile, and what I had before was only a DSA.
Did you have to pay Henry to use those?
No. You can't copyright the break key.
Okay.
So there's like the difference between the melty key and the regular key.
Yeah, it kind of is. If you get the DSA, it kind of looks like a melty keyboard. If I can.
How many slams is it good for?
You know, because you can easily replace these keys, infinite.
Wow. Qui-Gon's got an M that looks pretty nice.
So then I also
says we need to not be so abrasive to Bob. So we apologize. Continue. Look good.
I also got this other set of keycaps here. Everything, all this great camera work. So this is a full set of blank DSA profile keycaps. So it'll kind of look like a melty keyboard when it's done.
So it's like when you wake up drunk one morning to go to your CoCo, everything's gone.
Yeah. What did I do?
Oh, wait, Julian Brown, he's one of the Dragon guys over in the UK there. He says, I want those XDA red keys. The only ones I found were the thin ones. So do you have a certain supplier you're getting from, or is that a trade secret or what?
I'm getting them off of Ali. I can shoot him a link if he wants to DM me or something.
Okay.
I'm on the Discord.
And so is
Darth
Julian.
Bacon Fire, Bob, whatever.
No, we're not firing you.
Okay.
No, he's already did
And
that.
then
We can't yet.
these are my new key switches that I just got. I have been using linear cream switches, which are really nice. I wanted to try some tactile switches for a change.
Man,
And
your
these
camera's
are
great.
nice. It's a HP camera, by the way, branded. So these are tactile, which I kind of thought might have a little noise to them, but they don't really. It's just like you have a little bit of a pressure that you have to overcome before it clicks down. So it'll be easier to avoid accidental key presses, I think.
Have
Just
you
like
mounted
every
those in,
good,
have you
just like
mounted
every-
those on a board yet and tried them?
No, this is my first
Because-
set. I just got them in the mail
because
yesterday. So
you
this
may find
is
they
what I'm
pick up-
building.
You may find they pick up a good bit of volume once they're mounted on a circuit board.
Yeah.
act
far
as a
as
resonator.
Audible tick, yeah,
But
because
of
mine
course-
do.
Yeah.
Every good IBM buckle spring keyboard does have a little resistance before they give. So
Right.
So is
Yeah.
what you guys see the little video that Jason put up on Discord?
in the lobby,
The one person that uses
a clicky
a
key.
mechanical keyboard.
Oh yeah.
I did not.
I haven't
in the
seen
lobby
it, but
chat.
I can imagine. Okay, let me switch back now. I'm going to talk about the upcoming boards. So this will be my next build, is with these tactile keys and the low profile keycaps that look kind of like a melty keyboard. So I'll let y'all know how that turns out.
So this next board's under $700. You can't beat that.
These are relatively inexpensive. I haven't, generally I buy cheap things that's like $15 keycaps, $15 worth of switches. You know, my boards are about $7. It's not all that much, you know.
No.
So we're gonna take a look at the new board here, version 3. Real quick, main difference, the LED is moved over to the left side now, next to the MCU that controls it. And I had to do that because I'm going to be putting a switch here. And that's a little push on, push off switch. That's going to turn this chip on and off. That's going to provide power or a switching signal to these two chips over here. Switch over. Switch back. So first of all, on the MCU, you can see the LED there. I'm going to put some jumpers, maybe a piano switch on this side for some options on the LED. So you can actually choose between different color patterns and modes. There's one of the switches will turn it so that it flashes like the cursor. I think I've showed you guys that before.
Feature
One of
creep.
them will, and it'll actually, if you select that mode, the cursor mode, the speed of the cursor will reflect the processor speed. So when you go into double speed mode, it'll start cycling twice as fast, just like your cursor.
So does this keyboard require an extra power source?
Just 5 volts from the motherboard that it actually will get through the turbo LED driver board.
Oh,
So
okay.
the turbo board plugs in, and then the keyboard just has a magnetic connector to that. So it's real easy to just, you know, quickly pop out the keyboard and you've got just a magnetic plug, snap in, snap out.
Oh, okay.
Then back on the other side, on the bottom of the keyboard now, we've got these 3 chips. So again, that's like the controller that you turn it on and off and it'll activate the rest of this stuff. This chip right here, that's your standard 4066, configured as a Atari digital to analog joystick adapter. This switch right here is going to disconnect the 4 inverted T buttons and a couple other buttons, and it's going to turn this pad into a digital game pad.
Oh, okay. So you can use a joystick-based program with those keys instead once you...
Exactly.
switch
If
it.
you have a joystick-only program, you can still use your keyboard. And then for the final piece in this is pretty much 90% done. Only final piece is going to be adding an ESP32, so it'll output like a Bluetooth wireless signal. So you don't have to plug it in also. And then that would hopefully work, you know, in concert with Porticoco's joystick receiver, since they're making a Bluetooth joystick receiver.
Cool. Well, that'd definitely be handy for some games if you don't have a joystick lying around. You can just flip it, switch, and you reuse your arrow keys and a couple buttons.
Yep. And then I took it off of here, but I had another chip this size, and I think I'm gonna suggest to Charlie and them, when they design their joystick receiver, there's a chip that you can send two full 5-pin signals into and swap them. So it's really easy if you had your joysticks plugged in, you can just hit a button and it'll swap left and right for you automatically. As long as you have both of them plugged in, you know, to the back of the CoCo.
Now, will your keyboard joystick controls have that option too to simulate which joystick board? Or?
It's just going to be a single output. So that would be on the receiver.
Okay. And then also one other thing I wanted to ask about the keyboard joystick support here is, are you going to have an option for rapid fire as well?
I haven't built that in, but it probably should be.
Welcome to feature creep.
Right.
Well, he could have put it in already. I didn't know it was feature creep, right?
Yeah.
We're all just innocent here.
I'm not buying it either, but
and the space bar will become the fire button, and the X key will be button 2. And all that is controlled by the little switch that's going to go up there. So I can turn on through hole components. So there'll be a switch right there that controls. So if you needed your space bar or your X key, you could quickly flip that switch, type what you need to, you know, to switch between keyboard and joystick.
Kevin Holloway said, don't forget the real-time clock.
Ah.
The only worry I have is that there are some games, like Defender style games, for example, that sometimes use a space bar for a smart bomb while your regular fire button would be your shooting part, and I'm not sure if that would work with your thing, LSU.
Does that game have a keyboard mode?
Well, it's designed for joystick. I'm just trying to remember which one that was now off the top of my head. Is that Planet Invasion that does that? There's a few.
Yeah. So it's just one of those, you know, there's always going to be cases that not everything works for. So.
Yeah.
So why is it we don't have a LED lit keyboard for a CoCo?
Backlit, you mean? Or
Yeah.
color changing?
Probably
Whatever.
cost.
Yeah. I mean,
Because nobody's made
it does add to the cost. It also adds to the complexity of the circuit board.
But
Plus, you probably need more power to do all that too, wouldn't you?
Then you
Yeah.
need special keycaps.
Yeah. You
If Ron wants to fund it, I think we can get Bob to make some.
Sure.
Start a GoFundMe.
checks in the mail. You didn't get it yet?
That's cool. There's a couple good features on there.
Anyway, let me see. I'm going to check my notes here.
Ken Reichert said sound chip.
Is that the actual color of the board too?
My 2B keyboards are blue. Switch. But I haven't decided on the version 3 boards if I'm going to get them blue or go back to black. The black ones looked really nice. Or maybe I get white. But I don't know, white just, it'd probably start showing dirt. Then again, there's probably going to be a bezel over it anyway eventually, so.
When you debut the black one, you could play back in black.
There you go.
Yeah.
That would probably get me a copyright strike though.
Yeah. Can't you limit?
We'll put it on the speech and sound pack or something.
There you go. Nothing like quality.
Yeah. Not at all. All right, well, that's all I got.
Cool. Now you showed that you have a couple of these other 2B boards. Are you planning on offering those to people later on, or?
Yeah, I think I'll throw a note up in the buy sell trade chat. I mean, I've got about a half a dozen of them, so.
And what main thing is asking, is the outline still the same?
Yeah. I mean, everything is always going to be like a drop straight into a CoCo 2 or 3 case, or a CoCo 1. These will fit right into any of them. I'm repositioning the clear key. I'm using a 2U enter key because you can actually get those in a keycap set. And the clear key is just going to be even with the break key. Everything will fit in the same outline. This is really the only thing that's changing physically, where I have the piano switches on here.
You're showing your desktop, your tabletop, I should say, still.
Sure, yeah.
It looks like you're trying to point something out in your screen.
I am, and now I'm getting confused on which screen I'm clicking on. And still broken.
That's too bad we couldn't get slightly smaller keys and you could fit like a whole numeric keypad on there. That'd be awesome. How's that for feature creep?
But then I would need slightly smaller fingers to use it. So
yeah. Just get long fingernails. They're nice and skinny, right?
Or punch
Turn your
holes in the
CoCo
top of
into
the casing.
MC10.
There we go. My OBS was crashed, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we're seeing it. So you wanted to point something out on there specifically, though, I think.
So yeah, over on the left side of the keyboard, I added these little piano switches, which could actually just be 3 jumpers on the left side here. Again, that's just for like LED options, but it takes a little bit of extra depth that the microcontroller will stick out. Because I did have the microcontroller just flush to the board. So now it'll probably have about for jumpers, about a 1/4 inch gap. For the piano switch, probably about 3/8 of an inch. And those things are relatively cheap, like 68 cents for a 3 triple switch. Am I still live?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So if anybody wants those 2B boards, I should just contact you on Discord, probably in a DM or something.
Yep. You can ask in buy sell trade or shoot me a DM on the Discord, and either way it'll end up on a DM so I can get an address and work out payment. It's for a bare board with just what you've seen there, the flat cable and everything. It's about $25 with shipping.
Okay.
That's about it.
Pretty good. Okay. Rick, you want to go next?
sure, okay. So I've been producing Busy Little Beaver. So we now have these Bonobo things. If anybody wants one, feel free.
That's Henry Strickland's board, correct?
Correct. And I announced it, and then I only had 2 cases printed, so I pretty much killed all the sales the first week because you couldn't actually get one. So anyway, I've practiced and got things printed and learned to print vinyl labels. Ooh, labels.
Nice.
And created this nice print, which I'm going to call the old boot, I guess. So that was special.
When the cloud explodes.
Yeah, when it doesn't stick, this is what you get.
Are you sure it's not a melted marshmallow and you were trying to do Rice Krispie squares?
It doesn't taste right.
Can you make another one just like it?
Oh, that's a one of a kind.
And then just for information, my Pringle case, if you rotate the top one half of it 90 degrees, it's all fixed and it's not a Pringle anymore. So if this ever happens to you, boys and girls, rotate half of your print and it'll all be fixed. Well, this is not CoCo, but I'm going to show it off anyway. One of the first things I bought at Radio Shack that wasn't a P-Box kit was one of these way back in the day. The old 100 milliwatt, you could kill someone with this walkie-talkie.
Yes,
Cast iron in front. And, yeah, it's
25 pounder. Huh?
Yeah. So anyway, that was before computers. I was like 14. I got a job to buy one of these.
And the battery still works?
It's still a usable thing. They do work. So anyway, I was happy to find those for $10. So
does it take a 9-volt?
Yeah.
It takes
well,
12
it's funny.
Ds.
It's funny because they say this is a radio that was actually a radio. So it's 100 milliwatts. It's not, a one transistor super het. It's got a super het receiver. It's got a real transmitter section and all of that. And then they say, don't exceed 9 volts. Well, if you put in a 9-volt battery and you turn it on, the battery meter is at the very bottom of its useful range. And if you get up to 12 volts, it goes up to the top of its useful range. And it seems to have a lot more power. So
Interesting.
It's fun to know.
Okay. Curtis.
Okay, so Brian Weisler last week showed off one of the Tower of Power cartridge holders that Antonio Caballero has been doing, and he sent me some too. And he actually sent me one of each of the two sizes. So the first one's a standard size here. I've got the cases facing in, and I was quickly slapped together to show the size, basically. So he's even got some nitrous 9 stuff actually built into the versions he gave me. Normally, you'd actually have the slots facing outward like this, but I just slapped it together real quick.
So you're going to have to make a nitrous 9 boot cartridge now for it?
Yeah, apparently. But he also sent me one of the taller ones too.
Oh.
This one's going to become quite handy because all my cartridges are just laying on the top of a shelf in my closet here, and every time I go to pick one out, I end up invariably knocking them all down on the floor. So this should help clean that up a lot, and then I get my TC9 off the floor finally. But yeah, it's a good size. But the same old ball bearing, to rotate it around and everything else. So fit a lot of cartridges in there anyway. So that's the two sizes that he's offering anyway, for those of you who are interested in this kind of thing.
Now, do you actually have cartridges to fit in there?
Yeah, I just didn't take them out of the closet. I probably got about, 60, 70 cartridges total.
Oh, okay, good. Awesome.
Not including hardware ones. That's just, game packs and
How
stuff.
many duplicates?
None. I sold off actually, no, I donated my duplicates to one of the auctions at CoCoFEST a few years back.
Okay, so how many cartridges do you have to plug in together to run nitrous 9? So
the whole thing? Yeah.
Does the multi-pack count as a cartridge?
5.
I was just maybe a 16 slot MPI might have a reason.
I don't quite need an 8 would be fine for me. David Ladd's one, he needs 16. Because he needs like 4 drives per, so he can have a total of 64 drives, floppy drives.
And you say you can't power a lit keyboard, huh?
No, you like you were even mentioning here, like one of the guys in the chat was mentioning earlier, you might need a USB power supply even for something far less than that. And I was not, I was joking about the numeric keypad, and that still goes back to that Color Computer News article where the guy took a Model 3 keyboard, took his CoCo 1 and cut the keyboard surround to get extra room, and he actually put the entire Model 3 keyboard, numeric keypad and all, into a CoCo case. Because they're all duplicate keys, so that you can wire them. They just, you have 2 1 keys, 2 2 keys, 2 2 3 keys, and then everything actually works. Or you can go the what's the Brian? We still got the HGL numeric keypad as an additional plug-in type thing that you can float around your desk. Yeah, number jack. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and thank you, Antonio, because he sent me those actually for free. I was expecting just one of them because he said he wanted to send me one with Nitrous 9 on it, just because of all the work I've done on Nitrous 9 here, but I was not expecting to get 2 of them.
That's really nice.
Yeah, so big thanks to Antonio.
We heard about your closet shelf.
Yeah, that's where I keep my soldering iron locked away so I don't access it. And I don't know, is Antonio related to the former station manager of SCTV? I don't know. That might be an Canadian joke. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, some of you watch SCTV in the past, right?
We saw SCTV down here. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
It was Guy Caballero, wasn't that that was the station manager, played by Joe Flatter, do you think? Oh, welcome, Ken. I just noticed you snuck in.
Hello. You said SCTV, and there he was.
Yeah.
Yep. Like
Hence
the
the Canadian
ghost of
flag.
John Candy.
Terry Trapp of Terry's Workbench on YouTube says, I'm adding 2 RTCs. There's Feature Creep for you. I can have it 2 time zones at once.
You have the RTC, the UTC.
Nowadays, you could probably just build a little AI that could have a camera that reads an analog clock.
You're muted, Frederick. I think you were trying to say something.
It's going to be popular for Gen Z.
Oh, right. So they can read the analog clock.
Yeah.
This is their translation layer.
Is the analog clock part of steampunk?
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I've seen some awesome steampunk stuff.
Well, you tend to also see a lot of people throwing Nixie tubes into steampunk things.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, are we ready for first commercial break and then? Now I forget what we're doing first. The news.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll probably do the upcoming shows announcements first and then the news, because then I have to leave and then Ken will completely take over.
Have we forgotten our dragon people?
What's that?
No. What about the dragon people?
That's part of the news.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll do the shows first just to get them out of the way, and then I'll go to the news, and then that kind of segue into Ken will be doing gaming news and the Game On channel.
I see.
Hello, everyone. It's your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents. You're watching CoCoNation. I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCoNation show would like to thank the following patrons: AC's 8-Bit Zone, Alex Gayer, Alan Huffman, Boysentech, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weisler, Kieran Ascom, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Frederick Segard, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Gernhardt, Henry Strickland, Jason Warnes, Jim Mullis, Jeffrey Drywater, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Patrick Hewland, Paul Fuscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Richard Harding, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Bateson, Tech Dungeon, Terry Trapp, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., and William A. Thing. Thank you so much, patrons. If you would like to support the CoCoNation show, sign up at patreon.thecoconation.com.
Hey everyone, I'm TJB Chris, and I'm watching the CoCoNation live show, and so are you. And probably shouldn't be pointing that thing at you. Enjoy!
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
JM1 Geek Army says, Hi, I'm John Michel from Belgium. My first computer was a PAL CoCo 2 with 16 kilobytes and extended BASIC that I got around 1982. It was love at first sight and I still have the machine in its box. I have a ton of old computers. mostly 8 and 16 bits, and I enjoy bringing them back to life and writing new software for them. I also write Disc Jockey and other apps. discjockey.onegeekarmy.eu. Mouser from Mario 2 says, "My name is Andy. I had a TRS-80 CoCo 1. My dad bought them for me at a garage sale along with a box of tapes, then a CoCo 3 when I was a little older. I'm mostly retro with emulation, Raspberry Pi boards. My CoCo 3 still works, but I don't have any of the tapes, just the ROM carts. I found out about this Discord when I was searching for TRS-80 Discord servers. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Boisentech, Frederick Micro Hobbyist Sigard, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, Wingnut 2626, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
All right, last minute addition. Brian, to updates and acquisitions and feature creep.
Yeah, no, just a real quick one there. So last week, I shared with you guys the cartridge there that Antonio made there, the cartridge carousel, excuse me, that he made. Well, this past week I received another box in the mail, and let me do this here. And that's coming through nice and bright there, isn't it?
Yeah, blasted out.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's actually in color. It's kind of blowing out a bit, but
yes, it is. Yeah, so this right here is in white, and then we have the red, green, blue right there. So yeah, it's coming through nice and bright there. Probably can't get it.
It's artifacted.
Yeah, so it's coming through there. So this is one of the light boxes, and this is from Paul Fiscarelli. Sent me this here. It's just 3D boxes that he makes. They're all screwed together here with the little power cord going in the back here. And he has the little rubber feet on the bottom there. So this is some of what he was trying to get at CoCoFEST. Unfortunately, he had some mail delivery, and so I received this. But in addition to that one, he also sent me this one, which is the Tandy one there with that we know and love.
If you unplug it, we can see the colors better.
Yeah, there you go. So
that looks good. Yeah.
Yep. So here you go. And then here's this one here.
Yep.
And then one more, and this is the one that I actually wanted. He sent these these along here, kind of. This is what I was actually wanting to get. There was the Tron, the blue Tron. There, I've always like, whoop, there it goes. There it is. So I received this here from him. So it was really nice work that Paul does with these here. I really appreciate it sending me these. Maybe you can see that a little bit better there. But yeah, he 3D prints these here, and he prints this this layer here thin enough that the light is actually able to shine through it there. So I really appreciate the nice work that he did and sending me these here. So that was nice to receive. I just wanted
that is
to
cool.
I just want to do a little shout out to him there. So, and then that's really all. I just wanted to kind of share that because I just really appreciate Paul sending that. So I just wanted to put a little shout out to him and share that with you guys. There, these light boxes that he's doing. So
cool.
But yeah, that's really all I had. Just a quick one there. I just wanted to have a moment there to share that, and then also too, I just wanted to say to all of you that are out there that are fathers or mentors or guardians of children. You don't have to be a physical biological father to a child to be important in their life. So for all of you that are out there, just want to say thank you to all the fathers, no matter what shape you come in. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well said.
Okay.
Did you want me to share a little bit about the Glenside there, so then you can head into the
Well,
news
we're on the news intro, and then we'll go straight into that because I know you
Okay.
have to go too. You had some family stuff.
Thank you.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks,
from around the world to your nation. The CoCoNation News with L Curtis Boyle.
Hey, look, I was all backlit there too. Anyway, Brian is actually one of the execs officially on the board, I guess, for Glenside, and you were attended the meeting that they had this past week, which is kind of going through mostly was about CoCoFEST. I will mention one thing up front that Jim had mentioned on the call, so it's kind of out in the public already anyways. But there is a tentative date for CoCoFEST 2026. They're shooting for April 24th and 25th. That's not officially 100% confirmed, but pretty sure from what Jim was saying. So you can kind of get into your calendar there and make sure you leave that a couple days open for the fest. But the main thing was kind of going through some of the finances and how the show ran. I think there was generally good consensus that the Friday, Saturday versus Saturday, Sunday actually was quite well liked. But the finance stuff was a little bit of a shock, and I think, Brian, you can probably talk more about that because that was probably the big discussion for the most of the meeting, which I only caught way after the fact.
Yeah, I don't have any of the specific numbers in front of me there, but as Curtis said, it is online if you want to go catch that. I don't have them in front of me here, but yeah, we did fall a little bit short this year. We discussed some of the reasons why with that. Probably one of the bigger one was the auction. We didn't receive as many donations this past year as maybe in years past. Although it was still a good auction, though, it wasn't like some of the more stellar years that we've had over the past couple here. So that affected it. One of the things that we're looking to maybe balance that a little bit is the overflow room, where we really didn't have anybody. We did have one person, I think, that was in the overflow room there. So for next year, we might look at maybe not using that. Probably the biggest discussion that we had or took up most of the time was around tables and paying for tables. And what I mean by that is obviously the majority of the people pay with credit card, through like a PayPal or something like that. But we still have a few people that use checks. And do we want to accept checks? The other thing is we have people that were saying that I want this table and then I'll pay at the fest, but then they didn't show up. So we had a number of unused tables. There were also some people that weren't able to attend, mostly those from Canada for various reasons. That really didn't affect the numbers in too much there as far as tables go. But so I think one of the things we're going to focus on next year is tables and getting the tables filled. One thing that was thrown out there was if you want a table, you have to pay for it at least 2 weeks before the fest. If you don't, then your table is going to go up to grab, because we had people that were on a waiting list and then we had people that didn't show up. We could have filled that table with them. So that gap could have been narrowed a little bit as far as our falling short next year. So we might tighten the belt a little bit on some of the things. We're really not looking at doing anything right now as far as the paying for attendance. We've tried to continue with the come for free and not have to pay like we used to do. So we're gonna continue to talk about it this year. So there were some things that did affect the numbers. The food thing, although people have different opinions about that, that's not a factor in this because that's just a wash. That's just us collecting the money and then passing it on to the hotel. So that doesn't affect the numbers in any way. The club's not paying for that. That's all attendee paid for. So, but essentially, yeah, it was still a good year. And as Curtis said, there was obviously a much more positive feedback with the Friday, Saturday. It seemed like it was a little more relaxed, people were saying. It didn't feel quite.
They were
so
able to attend more
congested.
seminars, et cetera, from what I heard.
Yep. So overall, it was. We're going to give it 2 thumbs up for this year.
Yeah. One thing I remember Jim had mentioned is that we had those extra rooms for overflow for tables, and because some people didn't show up, we could have fit everybody and not paid for that extra room entirely.
Correct. Yep.
So maybe that's, maybe we restrict the number of tables, and as you said, the 2 weeks ahead of time too, that basically once they're full, they're full. Like that's happening with some of the other VCFs and stuff. Like once you're out of tables, you're out of tables. Tandy Assembly's already sold out, for example.
Yep. And we don't want to not say, no, we're not going to take checks at all. Because we understand that there's some people that aren't comfortable with electronic payments. But we might put some some
time
policy,
limits,
or
like you
yeah,
have
some
to have it
time
in a
limits.
certain time.
Yeah. Once you reserve the table, you know, you have to have the check to us within 2 or 3 weeks, you know, or something like that. Just so if you're going to have a change of heart that we can fill, because we did have as I mentioned, we did have a list of people that wanted a table, and then we said there were no tables available, and then there was tables. So so, you know, and obviously filling the tables, the vendor tables is what pays for the majority of the event, and obviously the auction is there too. So we're going to see if we can't see about trying to get maybe more donations this next year. You know, maybe start talking about it earlier. Matter of fact, before we even ended the meeting, Eric Cornelis received an email from somebody who already had a donation for next year. So we're we're already heading down the right road. So.
Well, something that Grant had sent me a bit earlier before I saw the meeting stuff was that there was a lot less hardware in the auction. I wasn't there, so I haven't actually watched the auction video because I'll just get depressed about all the stuff I missed. But he was saying there's a lot more, like it was more software into, and that's not as something that drives the prices up, you know, as much as hardware does. So it looks like the mix.
A lot of software and books. There was
Yep.
only one CoCo 3 and like 2 CoCo 1s. And
Yep.
then there was just joysticks and a lot of floppy drives this year.
Yep. Yeah, software doesn't, I mean, if you're into the collecting aspect of it, then maybe you might be more willing, but most people, you know, having access to the CoCo SDC and the archive, you know, unless you're collecting, software is not the thing, but people do enjoy the hardware for sure.
What was the attendance?
We don't have an exact number, but we're around 110, I think is what we're thinking we had there this year, which is a bit short from last year. I think last year was it 130? I think we had.
Yeah, roughly 130. I think wasn't a huge drop, but a bit of a drop. Also, though, one other thing was that sponsor pulled out at the.
Yep. Yeah. So we might look at sponsor and maybe even sponsorship for some of the things, like for example the
lanyards.
The lanyards and stuff like that. We might look at maybe see if we can get somebody to sponsor those and stuff like that. And
yeah, I was surprised how expensive they were, because the lanyard part that was expensive, it's not the actual card that has your name on it. It's
right.
a shoestring that you wrap around your neck.
Exactly. Yeah. So we
those
might
are
see
like
about
$3 each or something.
And while we're talking about this, Ron Delvaux, there was quite a number of compliments about your artwork. So thank you for donating your time for that.
Sure.
People like that.
Great, good.
Yeah, you should watch the meeting, Ron. There's a couple of points there, but talking about the CoCo Cat design and stuff that they really thanked you for. So.
Oh, good, thanks. I came on the game show while that was happening for a short time, and I was aware of the meeting, but I didn't go.
Yeah, well, it's online on the Glenside channel on YouTube if you want to check out. It's all there.
Cool.
So, but yeah, that's basically the. So we kind of see the areas that maybe affected it this year. So we're gonna look at that throughout the year here and see what we can do.
Now it sounds a little depressing, right? Because it went down a little, but it's still going to be the last one next time, right?
Exactly. Yep. It'll still be. Yep. Right.
Well, if I remember correctly, the shortfall they had now, the final numbers aren't in yet, but most of what Jim was saying, like you might be a bit short because certain things hadn't been processed yet, and some of the stuff got pulled up. But I think we were $2,700 short. So it wasn't exactly a small amount, I think, but it was.
Yeah, I can't remember the total number there exactly. But that 2,700, I don't. There was something that didn't factor into that, so the gap was maybe not quite.
Oh, it
that
might have been
far.
the dinners. Maybe that was.
Yeah.
So it was something. Yeah, but yeah.
But yeah, he's going to work on getting those numbers finalized. He needs to balance up all the tables too to make sure that all of those are factored in.
Yeah, we should also mention this doesn't mean that Glenside itself's bank account went in the red. It's just CoCoFEST, the cost of putting it on versus what they received. That's the one.
Yep.
But they already had a built-up kitty in the bank, so they're not in the hole themselves.
Yeah.
So.
No, we're not in the hole. The bank or the club is still setting very well in that area.
So are they scheduled for 2 more at the same place still?
Yeah, Grant was working on that there. We're definitely signed up for next year, and we've already, I think, I don't want to say it's in ink, but I think it's already penciled in for the following year. So 26 and 27, I think we've already got tentative dates for. And then but for 26, it's not so much of a tentative date. I think that's more of it's a almost in stone date. I think Grant wants to just visit with the hotel one more time to see if maybe there's anything that we can do to maybe either get a better rate or talk to them about not using that overflow room. Because we definitely want to use the 2 rooms that we did this year. I think that worked much better for the auction and presentations. Having the auction storage area directly across from where the auction was being held. We didn't have any of the nearly any of the video issues that we had in times past there. So, and then and also the layout of the room worked really well too, having it going the long ways in that room versus the short way. And then the club had bought a new projector, a short throw projector this year for Randy to use, and that worked out really well.
Yeah, and the projector was fairly expensive, but that's going to be, passed along between years. Like, it's not just for the year and you're done. You don't have to buy a new one every year. That's going to be 10, 15 years at least in use. So that was a good purchase.
Yep.
And we had a couple of guys that went through the show that did real well with the camera. Appreciated that.
Oh, doing a little walkthrough. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it looked like it went well. So I'm hoping things work better for next year. It looks like there's already a lot of planning to go around to do exactly that. So we'll keep.
Yeah, there's still a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. So we'll definitely keep that going. Yep.
Okay, cool. So speaking of shows, we might as well go through the upcoming shows here as the first part of the news, and then we'll get into the Dragon news right after that, so that our UK friends can have a nap later. Oh, Nick Morendis has joined us as well.
Sorry
Did you have any updates you wanted to show us there, Nick, or no?
No, I just woke up.
Well, we're doing the news now, so you can go right back to sleep.
That's right. Why did I disturb myself?
Okay, so to go through the upcoming shows here. First one up is VCF Southwest. This is in the Davidson Gundai Alumni Center at the University of Texas in Dallas, Texas. Of course, this is the backyard home of Tandy back in the day. And a lot of the Tandy alumni will be at the show, as well as some CoCo people like Brendan Donaghy, for example. And Mark Mosley, I think you're going to be there next week too, aren't you?
Yep.
And Mark Overhorser, are you going to be able to stream in Mark B's absence?
I should be able to. I'm cleaning up my computer, so hopefully it'll hold together.
Do some testing before the show, please.
Yes, that too.
Extra rubber bands.
Yeah. High tension rubber bands for the extra power.
And then replacing the hamsters with new ones.
That same weekend, if you're up in Canada and the prairies, you can go to the Manitoba Retro Computer and Gaming Club meeting, which is on June 21st from 11 a.m. at the Fort Rouge Leisure Center in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the same place. It gets held roughly about 4 times a year. I was there at the one in January. There's no particular theme this time around. Sometimes there is. The one in January actually was like a Tandy theme, so I felt right at home there. But these are fun meetings. There's usually a seminar presentation of some sort, plus a whole bunch of exhibits and enthusiasts there too. So it's more like a big club meeting type thing, but it was a lot of fun when I went there last time. And details are on the Facebook group that they have. And also you can get it from the show notes that you can pick up on the CoCo Discord that are published every week. And Alan on the panel here actually posts it to the CoCo listserv every Sunday. So you can get the details there as well about that or any story we cover in the news. Next up after that, the Southeast Michigan Vintage Computer Club is having their 8th public meeting, which is why they're calling it version 8. And this is on June 28th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern at the Grace Chapels Gymnasium in Waterford Township, Michigan, which is near Pontiac. And this covers all retro gaming consoles and home computers, hosted by Adam of the Commodore Chronicles. But he's also a bit of a Tandy fan. He's really into Tandy 1000s and stuff too. And Ken and I both met him at Boatfest, which has been renamed this year. But he's a really nice guy, and he kind of knows what he's doing. He's been organizing these for a while. So if you're in the Michigan area on that same weekend, or on June 28th, I should say, then you should probably go check it out. It's pretty cool. And speaking of Boatfest, it has been renamed the International Retro Computer Expo. And actually, a boat had posted on their Discord, John Schaller, Boat's his nickname, in case you don't know that. He actually posted that the mayor's actually done some mentioning on posters and stuff in Hurricane, West Virginia, where the show's at now. So they're getting some advertisement from city council, basically, which is cool. And this is happening July 11th to 13th at Hurricane, West Virginia. They have a little promo video if you go to the link where you can actually get the tickets. You can order the tickets there. They have some really good restaurants within walking distance, like literally a block or two away. And it's a lot of fun. It is a show. It tends to be gaming oriented. but there's definitely some hardware and other stuff there. There's trivia contests, and they tape some live shows there and all kinds of stuff. But it's very, very friendly. Like it's almost a fun user group meeting expanded, basically. I guess is probably the best way. But how would you describe it, Ken? Because it seems to have a different vibe than some of the other shows. Not as technical, I guess, but
I would say it just feels like a bunch of friends getting together and, you know, like you used to hang out in your basement and all play games and stuff.
oh, I never left the basement. Is there something else to do? Just kidding.
Well, you know, that's what it feels like, though. You're back hanging out at somebody's place and they got their computers out and everybody's having fun.
Yeah, it's very casual, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Like they don't have official seminars. They do have, some live show tapings and stuff you get to watch, but there's it's just got a very fun vibe. I guess that's the best way I can put it. And a little bit different than CoCoFEST, because at CoCoFEST you can get some serious hardware design and serious software design. And this seems to be much more casual, like just have fun. And if you're into general retro stuff, like because they cover all kinds of consoles and electronic games and stuff, it's got a pretty good wide variety. Next up, that is the big one. This is VCF Midwest and the 20th anniversary of this particular show. September 13th to 14th at Schaumburg Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois, formerly the home of Rainbow Fest itself back in the day. And this is one of 3 shows happening this weekend. So if you can't make VCF Midwest for some reason, you definitely have options depending on where you are. There's usually a pretty good CoCo contingent at this show. One of the main organizers, Jace Timmons, is also the auctioneer at CoCoFEST and has been for a few years since Tony retired. So we have a bit of a tie-in there. And like Rick, I believe you're still going this year yourself, and some other people are probably going too that are on, semi-regular panelists on the show. A lot of fun. There's also, they got seminars. I think the Stop It's, which has got Taylor and Amy and a few other YouTubers, are actually going to be playing a concert of some sort there from what I heard. I don't know if that's official yet, but that's what I heard anyway. Anyway, if you love retro and you want to really get deep in the weeds and stuff, there's some highly technical stuff you can find here. There's going to like old phone systems and minis and, talking about mainframe technologies and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of really cool stuff. It covers the whole gamut. That same weekend, if you're more into the gaming side of things, there's Retro World Expo. This is September 12th to the 14th at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut. This covers the entire electronic gaming industry, so that you can get arcade games, you can get home consoles, you can get home computers, you can get the electronic stuff, you can get all the paraphernalia like stuffed dolls and all kinds of stuff that kind of go along with it. And then they throw in stuff like wrestling just to be different. So this is one I think Henry Gernhardt has mentioned he might try to make himself, because I would be really curious what the vibe at this show is like, because I've never been to a retro show that has wrestling before. So that would be
So
pretty
we're going to
interesting.
see Henry wrestle?
Oh, I never thought of that. That'd be awesome. For the 5 seconds he survives. Anyway, it looks like a well-attended show, judging by the pictures they've had from previous years on their website. And they're already taking, you can buy tickets. You can now apply to be a vendor. And the Rumble registration, which I assume is the wrestling stuff, is coming soon. So apparently you can register to participate in the wrestling side of things. I don't know if Henry's going to do that or not, but it looks like a very interesting show. That's also that same weekend. And then if you're in Canada, you can go to a third show that same weekend, and that's WORC, W-O-R-C, World of Retro Computing. This is sponsored by Retro Rewind, amongst others, which of course is Frank, one of the 2 manufacturers of the CoCo SDC. There's been a CoCo contingent there for the last little while as well. Not just Frank, but we've had people like Stacy Vetzel and some others show off some CoCo stuff there last year and the year before. And this one here is that same weekend as the other 2 shows I just mentioned. And this takes place September 13th to 14th at the Old Goodies Department Store location in Kitchener, Ontario, which is west of Toronto, about an hour. And there's some other stuff right nearby, too. There's actually a place called the Museum. It's like literally next door. I'm not quite sure what kind of museum it is, but if you're taking a spouse or kids or something, it looks like there's some other stuff right nearby to see as well. And this is a general retro show. It has a bunch of gaming, home computer platforms, seminars, LAN parties, workshops, door prizes. Runs for both days, no admission fee. And it runs from noon to 5 p.m. Eastern on both the Saturday and the Sunday. After that is Tandy Assembly, September 26th to the 28th at the Courtyard by Marriott Springfield in Springfield, Ohio. Big note here that got announced a few weeks back is that if you attended CoCoFEST this year and you still have your badge, you can actually bring your badge and get in for free, no admission fee. If you did not, or if you just want to be generous to donate money to help get the show going, you will have an admission fee to get in. It's not that much. It's $10 per attendee for Saturday and Sunday. There's also the tech track, which is highly technical discussions and seminars that are on Friday. Now, if you want to really dig deep in the weeds here about hardware and software development, etc., I would definitely take those in. They have had some really interesting ones in the past. Sometimes they even get some of the people at Tandy that design some of the hardware to come in and talk about these things as well. If you want to just go for more for the camaraderie and to see what kind of stuff's available these days and where the world of Tandy computers is going these days, that you can probably just do the Saturday, Sunday. But this is a really good show too. One I'm planning on making with the next couple of years myself. And yeah, it's all things Tandy. So all the black and white TRS-80, Z80 based machines, the Tandy 1000s, so like the PC compatibles, the Pocket computers, the Model 100, 200, 102, etc. And of course, the CoCo line. Coming up after that is the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, which runs from October 17th to 19th at the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon. And this is as you can see from the picture, if you're watching the video stream, a well-attended show. It's quite busy. And Tim and AJ of Sibling Rivalry have actually been there as a vendor a few years back. And they were getting a lot of people coming in to play CoCo games, Atari 2600 games, and television games at their booth. And they're not planning on doing an actual booth this year, but I think they are planning on going back to show to attend. Hopefully we'll get some live streaming out of them, or at least some videos we can play afterwards. But if you're into gaming and you're on the West Coast, this is probably a really good one to go to. It's very well attended. Covers electronic tabletop games and arcade games, home consoles, home computers, and all the paraphernalia that kind of goes with that. And looked like a lot of fun from when Tim and AJ streamed from it last time. Next after that is the very first officially sanctioned VCF in Canada, and that's VCF Montreal, which is happening on January 24th to 25th. This is being held at the Royal Military College, which is just outside of Montreal. If you need any directions, you can either check it out through your local map app or just ask Frederick, since he knows exactly where it is. I don't know. I haven't checked lately to see if they've actually got anything as far as... Not quite yet. I was hoping maybe they might start having some of the vendors and stuff, but it is pretty early. I mean, this is January of next year, so still got another 7 months to go. And then, as we mentioned a little bit earlier here from the Glenside meeting, it's not 100% confirmed, but it's probably about 95% confirmed. We'll wait for Grant to do the official confirmation, but Jim Brain had mentioned during the Glenside meeting this past week that the tentative date for CoCoFEST 2026 will be April 24th to 25th at the same venue as it was this year, with some possible tweaks, as we were mentioning during Brian's summary of the meeting. And that's it for those. So now I will skip on to the news. And can't remember if I mentioned this in public or just in the pre-show, but I actually have to leave a little bit early today. So Game On News will be handled by the esteemed Ken Waters, and he'll merge it in with his live Game On Challenge stuff. I don't think Sloopy's here to do it, so it looks like, Ken, you're going completely solo today.
Yeah, and you think you guys sleep through Curtis's stuff. Whew, wait till you hear me.
Well, at least you're doing gaming, so that's a bit more exciting. Okay, as we've been doing the last few shows here, we're going to be doing the Dragon stuff first, so it's a little bit earlier in the UK. They don't have to wait the full, 3, 4, 5 hours to get to the Dragon stuff. And this one we could almost call the Julian Brown show. I think he's still in the chat here, but there's a ton of stuff that's involving him and his recreation of the Dragon here. So let me get my screen share going. Okay, so he's been working on the ATX Dragon, which is kind of a main motherboard and then a bunch of cards that you can plug in. So he wanted to make it modular so you can swap between... if you want to swap in a 6809 board and a 6309 board, if you want a VDG or if you want a CoCo DV or something like that, or the Super Sprite FM Plus, like basically it's meant to be more like a PC style thing where you can actually just swap a video card and swap, different cards for different IO. And he's been working on a whole bunch of these cards here over the last few weeks and doing some redesigns, going back and forth, ordering test boards and stuff here. And this week he published at least 5 updates that I've seen. If there was any this morning, I might have missed those. So let's start going through them. And Julian is in the chat, I just saw. And he mentioned here the 609 card isn't just a CPU, it's a tile-based SBC. We'll have to get you on the show sometime, Julian, here to kind of get through this explanation a lot better than I can do, since I'm not really a hardware guy. I'm just kind of winging it here. Anyway, the first update here. So this is the VDG board, the video display generator. And he said the VDG replacement board changes are done, and he sent off for some samples, and he's expecting to get them in about 2 weeks. As he says here, I pulled the trigger on the board so that these can actually be tested. Now I have to sit on my hand for 2 weeks to wait for them to come in. And you can kind of see here, he's got some test points on. He's got some more modern chips here. So this will basically replace the VDG. I'm assuming this will have stuff like, you know, true lowercase and inverse video options, all kinds of stuff. But, oh, he just mentioned in the chat. Yes, he did more this morning too. So I won't have time to look for that, unfortunately. Julian, if you want to send me a message linking directly to the one that I'll be missing from this morning, send it to me on the Discord or through email if you want, and I'll mention it next week. So anyway, he's got the prototypes of these on order, and we'll be testing it once they come in. Second update, update number 2. This is the new static RAM board is ready to test, but he needs to get a suitable EEPROM to test it. As he mentioned here, I'm running low on all sorts. Now, of course, the static RAM, I mean, one, it runs cooler, and it doesn't need dynamic RAM refresh. And this is something that actually enables, say, stuff like the Gimme X and the Gimme Z, and I believe the SAM doubler as well, to be able to run full speed, because you don't have to worry about doing dynamic RAM refresh all the time to steal some of the cycles. You can actually run the computer a bit faster. So I think the SAM doubler, if you want to run full double speed, like CoCo 3 equivalent double speed on a Dragon or a CoCo 1 or 2, static RAM, I believe, is required for that. So if you do get this upgrade, I mean, one, it brings you 64K, and I think he's actually adding the option for doing some bank switching to go up to even more than that, like 128K. That'll be pretty interesting combined with the SAM, because then basically you can get the equivalent of the speed of a CoCo 3 on a CoCo 1.2 or a Dragon 3264. And Julian, I know there'll be a delay between what I'm saying and what you get when you get to respond here, but feel free to correct everything I'm saying as I go here. Probably getting some of it wrong. Update number 3. So this is the RGB board that is just about ready. And this is not the 6847 replacement board we showed on update number 1, but this is a CPLD driven board to provide the RGB, prove the RGB decoding works. And he's expecting he's going to need to make some tweaks here. You can see there is a 6847 on the board. That's the VDG chip, of course, for the Dragon, the CoCo, MC10, and some other machines as well. But I think this board is more for testing, just to make sure that the RGB breakout's going to work, because he's going to have RGB outputs, which then you can pump into stuff like HDMI or whatever with, you know, translator boards, etc. And once again, showing the modular system, because you can, you plug all these variations of boards and stuff in there. Oh, and apparently he said I got the static RAM part right. Whew. Okay. Next one up after that, update number 4. This is the 63C09E CPU card, and he said he needs a single diode to test it further that he's waiting for. So it's ready to test except for one stupid diode. I'm sure Rick can appreciate that. The one nice thing about this one, though, is you'll notice it's actually using a more modern quad style design of the 6309. It's not using the dip ones, which actually are starting to get a bit rare. So I think sometime in the future here, some of the other upgrades that are doing, 6309s, like for the Gimme Z or Gimme X, or just, replace your CPU in a CoCo or Dragon, you might have to get a little adapter board, which I think we've seen before. I think Brian Weisler might even have one of those adapter boards where we can actually take the square chip and actually plug it in, and it goes to like a dip socket to
yeah, I have a couple of them too. And that's exactly it. You put the 44 pin 63C09 in that form factor, and it just sits on top of the regular 40 pin socket.
So. Now, do you know, does it have any different power draw or different thermal characteristics compared to the dip version?
No, I don't know. That'll be in the same data sheet though, so I would assume they would be close.
Okay. And just that most of the quad flat pack style stuff, or if that's what this is called, quad, I just call it because I can't remember the specific name. But some of those were created a little bit later than the original dip ones, and I'm wondering if maybe, even beyond the CMOS from NMOS change, it might be even a bit more thermal lessened from the original dip chips or not. I know the CMOS change made a huge difference. It dropped the power consumption, the heat by 90%.
Did it look like this?
Sorry, what?
Did it look like this picture?
Hang on, we can't see it.
Yeah, here, let me stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
You want to zoom it up just so our viewers can see it?
I don't
Kevin
think I
Holloway's.
can.
Just my profile picture.
Yeah, it does.
So
It
I'm
doesn't.
not gonna be able to zoom up.
if you're not actually streaming.
Okay. If you're not actually streaming something, you can't zoom it.
Yeah, here, there we go. I pinned it.
So that's the little adapter board with the same chip that we just showed that Julian's using in the quad version. Now, when the Athena board gets redesigned to have stuff like a Gimme Z and the Pepper chip and stuff built in, like as part of the motherboard, so you don't have to do these little adapters and stuff here, you might be able to save a little bit of space in the board by using the quad design chip by itself and take the dip right out.
Well, those will be on the Turbo 9 by then, won't they? That's a joke.
Now, one question I have for you guys that deal with chips a lot more than I do. Obviously, there's the quad version of the 6309. Is there versions of this for also like some of the other bigger chips on the CoCo 3, like the PIAs and things like that? Like, could you reduce, the amount of board space being used for recreation motherboards for the CoCos and stuff later on?
Seems like there should be. I'm pretty sure the Western Design Center has
did second source some of the other ones like the PIA, but I haven't seen any of those in those form factors.
Right, because things like PIA, we're getting into shaky ground because you don't need those. Even if you need the 6X09 CPU, you don't need a Motorola PIA. There's a lot of ways to replace
Julian
that
Brown
silicon.
says yes on the PIAs, but it is the WDC chip. So
you can get.
There's one out there.
Okay. He also mentions that the PLCC, that's the term I was trying to remember. 609s are really easy to get. They're being dumped out of the Japanese military surplus now that they don't use them anymore. And I know the US military is still using them. So,
hey, we'll still use floppies for airplanes.
Right.
So are our airplanes ran by David Ladd? That's my question.
No, just the air traffic
should
control.
be.
5 1/4?
They didn't say.
Anyway, I really like the modularity of this design. The fact you just swap these out, if you want to switch. Even for testing like software between a 6809 and a 6309, if you want to make sure some 609 features are working properly on, say, a fat binary, rather than having to unplug a 40-pin chip repeatedly and plug in the other one to swap between it, just unplug the card and plug in a new card, just like you do in a PC. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and then the final update that I had, and like I said, Julian emailed me with the one I missed from this morning. And this is another kind of testing thing, so I'll just read verbatim what he said in the post here, because this is going to be above my pay grade. In the interest of testing the CPLD development more freely, I would have brought in a suitable dev board. Sadly, these are few and far between for the larger AMD and Xilinx CPLDs, especially the larger chips. So why not do it yourself? I have an equivalent for the Atmel ATF15XX CPLDs, courtesy of one of my board folk colleagues. Between the two boards, I should be able to test all the options I've created so far. I want to expand my range to the larger lattice options, but that is for another day. And I might yet find a suitable ready-made dev board. But basically, he's borrowing this design here to make a dev board for some of these chips that you can't really get from the manufacturers all that easily. So, and I'll just zoom that up for the video watchers here. You can see the project link QR code there to check out some details on it.
Oh,
Let's get to have some of these test boards. Go ahead.
I thought that was the ball pattern.
We can wait for Julian on that one. Okay, next up on the Dragon news, a YouTube channel called STEW. I'm not sure it's pronounced Sweet W or what exactly, or Saint EW or something. I'm not sure what that means. But he's got a Dragon 32. Look, you can see the case is actually in quite good shape and hasn't really discolored anything. He's got a two-part video here of getting it working. I won't spoil it and tell you how he got it fixed because it was actually, kind of crashing on boot originally. They're not too long. They're 20 minutes or less videos. But one odd thing is that the serial number on the case is very, very early. It's 343 from the original Port Talbot Dragon location. So it's a very early one. But the motherboard is like 16,000, whatever, 150 or whatever. I don't remember the exact number, but it's quite different. And there was some speculation on some of the comments here that he may have gotten a Dragon that somebody had taken in to get fixed or upgraded in some way. And like Tandy did sometimes in the States and Canada, they just swapped the motherboard in for a newer one because it's easier than to fix whatever you had to fix in the motherboard itself. So I don't know if anybody in the chat here wants to mention if Dragon did commonly do that, where they just swap the motherboard rather than repair it. But I know from some of you hardware guys, and I was hoping maybe Richard would be here because he worked for repairs. And I think, well, actually, Mark, you kind of worked on repairs too, didn't you, for Tandy?
I did.
So how often did you guys swap a motherboard versus, like, say somebody wanted to upgrade a 4K to a 64K CoCo 1 or something? Did you guys actually do like take a D board and cut traces, or did you guys go, screw it, here's an F board?
In our area, we really didn't see CoCos come in.
Oh, okay.
So
because they never broke, right?
Yeah, essentially. But then I was also 85 to 89.
Oh, so we're talking like late in the CoCo 2 and then the CoCo 3's life.
Yeah, I mean, I think we only saw like one or two Model 1s come through. But
okay.
Yeah, it was when I was there, it was a little CoCo 3, yeah, that came out. But the 1 and 2s were pretty waned. But that
yeah, and the CoCo 3 never had an upgraded circuit board. The only upgrades it had was you could get the 512K if you wanted.
Yeah, and that was just a plug in and go.
Yeah, so, and I guess it wasn't really an upgrade. I don't think it was offered as an upgrade. There was the 86 to 87 gimme, which fixed a few timing tweaks.
Yeah, it wasn't an upgrade. So
I do know, like locally here, one guy I know for sure, he had an E board originally, and he had a 4K. When he went and get it upgraded to 32K extended, they actually swapped it for an F board. Even though the E board wasn't that difficult, but it still was, there was some extra soldering and wires you had to put into, I think, address lines or something like that. I can't remember. But it wasn't just nice, move the jumpers and swap some chips in.
Yeah, they were being amateur. You want jumpers and bodge wires? Try the Xenix upgrade. That went through a whole roll of jumper wire.
Really?
So did they have a replacement motherboard that basically solved that problem too, and they just didn't choose to do that? Or I'm just wondering what the philosophy of Tandy was at the time.
So we didn't necessarily do component level repair on stuff. Most of the problems we run into though were floppy drive related. And
okay.
It's either alignments digging bubble gum out of it, or if it was too messed up, then it would just swap the whole thing.
Okay, so you would try to repair the board most of the time, but if it was just way too difficult, then
yeah. But let's say most of the issues we see were floppy drive related. There wasn't a whole lot of electronic failures.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I don't think any of the CoCos have really had a problem. Like we hear about so many, 8-bit and 16-bit machines that had like, bad caps, and there was a whole wave of bad ones that came out at the one time. But Tandy seemed to have avoided most of that on the CoCo line, and the CoCo ran from 80 till 91, 92. So they seem to do pretty good. Their quality build seems to be quite well.
Yeah, the 1200 was another story. It had a lot of. It wasn't even built by Tandy. It was something they bought, and it had a lot of bad RAM in it. And so we chased down bad RAM chips in those regularly.
Like, was it bad enough that you guys had to switch suppliers at some point, or?
I think they had like a special buy from Tandon or something. some XT clone, and then named it the 1200. It wasn't something that they even designed. It was like some special buy they got a hold of.
Okay.
So.
Oh, and by the way, I was mentioning here about the serial number on the circuit board. So here's the serial number here, 16629. And if I remember correctly, the case has 343 on the bottom. So it was definitely swapped. It's not the one that came with the machine because they should have matched. But we're not sure if it's somebody did that on their own because they blew the board or whatever, or if it was an upgrade done by Dragon and they just swapped the board out.
What might be the serial number on that blue board? The power supply. I wonder, does that match the main board number?
That's a question. I don't know if you can even see it in here.
To work okay. So we tried to test the
focusing
machine
on here,
itself.
so still very mess.
So we powered it up.
Tom
and,
Everett
well,
Gunderson is saying that his Dragon has a higher serial number board in it.
Okay.
Do they all have that flying bodge wire in the air there? That's kind of amazing. Yeah.
I have no idea.
You'll notice the last guy had his bodge wires nicely taped down, so they wouldn't.
Yeah, and you can see here, like he's got a satellite board for his RAM. It looks like.
Right. Something.
Probably to take 32 up to 64.
Maybe, I don't know. I watched this briefly, but I was kind of distracted at the time, so I didn't pay as close attention as I normally try to do. Anyway, the links are there. It's between the two videos, it's about 34 minutes. And he does get it working. He finds out actually eventually after replacing a bunch of things that one specific chip had to get swapped out, and then he actually gets the Dragon data Microsoft Basic sign. Like I said, you're going to have to watch the video to find out what the chip was.
Oh, man.
And finally, we've got Chris Poacher. Chris Poacher, of course, is the guy that runs the Microdeal page on Facebook and also had the Microdeal display at the Retro Fest, UK Fest that we talked about here just a couple weeks ago. And these are photos of the inside of his Dragon 200E. Now, the 200E, if I remember correctly, this is the one after Eurohard took it over in Spain. So they basically sold it in Spain for a while afterwards, after they bought the rights to do it. And it's also got a John Whitworth Dragon Plus Electronics daughter board that enhances the text modes. And you'll see the inverse video in here is quite nice. Like inverse video on a standard VDG, normally you can see like that dark green square pretty prominent. And then the light green in the middle. And actually, this isn't too bad at all. Now, maybe that's just the camera.
The brightness and contrast down, it'll be fine.
That's true. Though then your games don't look quite as poppy. But there might be more going on here. I can't remember too many details here on the VDG daughter board that John makes here. But you'll notice it has like true lowercase. So this is not a stock VDG thing, right? And I believe this is RGB output or something like that too. It's like it's really, really crisp. It looks really nice.
That's the Eurohard version of the font.
Oh, is it? I didn't realize that.
The upside down question mark. See the N with
right here. Yeah.
tilde? Yeah, that's the Spanish font version.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it had a different one. I just thought it was the standard one. So they added some European characters as well as the lowercase.
Yeah, and it types them too, if I remember right.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that. Yeah, because that would have been like inverse video for one whole line of stuff there as we're showing on the screen on a regular VDG. Nice font, though. It looks really nice on this output. Anyway, that's the Dragon news this week. So thanks to Julian for doing a ton of things so I could fill up the Dragon quota. And yeah, he mentions, have fun trying to share my Facebook posts. Lots of useful options, but sharing isn't one of them. And Julian says the power board serial number is distinct, but if it is that high a number, it has definitely been swapped out. Referring to the previous two videos here, repairing a Dragon. Okay, onwards to regular news for either the CoCos or all platforms, if it's general cross-platform stuff. So the first thing is that Glenn Hewlett has added some more details on what he added to version 4.41 of his basic to 609 cross compiler. Of course, this is hosted on a modern PC. Lets you write in BASIC with a lot of extensions and new keywords that he's added, and then compiles to assembly language that you can actually run on a real CoCo. And version 4.41 he released last week, and he basically just mentioned it was fixing a couple of bugs, but actually he did some more things. A rather major one, as you'll see here, is he added the draw command for all graphics modes, including the semi-graphics modes, which is really cool, because one thing he's been doing on his is he's trying to support all the modes that the Gimme and the VDG SAM combo can generate, which includes some modes that BASIC never did before. So now you can run like SG12 and SG8 and SG24 on a CoCo 1 and 2, and you can run some of the oddball screen resolutions that, say, Nick and some others have used for gaming on the CoCo 3. Like 128 by 96 16 color or something like that. And now he's added the draw command, which of course is a nice shorthand for drawing a bunch of shapes that using straight lines and stuff, because you can basically draw diagonals and straight up or straight vertical and horizontal lines, and then group a whole bunch of these commands together in one string, which is actually a bit faster to parse than a bunch of line commands. But he's got that all working, including semi-graphics. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work with stuff like box and box fill. He improved the handling of a single line if command that have then or else with a line number and not a go-to line number. Fix the poke command so it can now handle math functions directly for both address and the value to poke. Fixed a bug with the line command with horizontal lines with two colors, depending on the offset. It could draw the line smaller than it should be. I hit this, I remember back in the day doing graph driv when I missed a masking of the side of a line. And he updated sdecb.bas IDE to ignore timer. It can now be treated as a variable to be set just as it is on extended color basic. So once again, the compilers are all going through just about weekly updates at this point. As I've mentioned before, if you want the utmost in speed as far as compiling basic program onto the CoCo 1, 2, or 3, or the Dragon now, I think he's added to it 2 recently. Glenn's is definitely the fastest, but if you want cross-platform and you want to write it so it works on Atari 8-bits and C64s and CoCos and all kinds of things, then Microgames Basic, UG Basic is probably your best bet. Both of them speed up basic programs quite a lot. And they're really fast at compiling because, of course, they're cross-platform. Use a modern machine to edit the code and to compile the actual program, so it just takes seconds versus some of the basic compilers we have for the CoCo might take minutes. Next about that, Genevieve Tedfafty, I believe is how to pronounce her last name. She's been trying to track down serial numbers that have been found on the CoCos. Now, we've been told by Mark Siegel that Tandy in particular, and I don't think Dragon did this, but Tandy in particular did restart numbers sometimes depending on the CoCo, but they were somewhat random, and they didn't always go contiguous and stuff. So it's really hard to figure out, how many have been sold, et cetera, because you don't really know. But just for the sake of completeness, because there is a chance from the way Mark's described it that some serial numbers could have been reused between, say, a CoCo 1 and a 2 or a CoCo 2 and a 3, et cetera, type thing. So she's actually started up this spreadsheet, and she's not just doing CoCos. You can see on the bottom tabs here on the Google Doc, and you can get the link in the show notes for this if you want to contribute your own, help complete the database as much as we can. It covers all the CoCos, CoCo 3, CoCo 2, and then it covers like model 1s, 2, 3s, 4s. So she's trying to track down the Z80-based machines as well. And I actually contributed. I'd actually been keeping a private set of these in a spreadsheet for years. Occasionally I'd see one on eBay, and I write down that serial number, and it's a CoCo 2 with 64K and extended basic or whatever it is. So I donated the ones that I'd done, and feel free to add to these. The link, like it says in the show notes, you can just go in and just enter your own in if you want to help, kind of make this master database of serial numbers for the various models. You'll have to put in the actual model so you can kind of tell if it's an NTSC or a PAL. CoCo 2 had several different models. CoCo 1's had several different model numbers too, so you can kind of differentiate, whether it's a white case or gray case CoCo, maybe a DE or F board, etc. But it'd be kind of interesting just to see is there some overlaps, or can you see patterns to the numbers that it does seem to be like, maybe they are contiguous in certain chunks that we can actually kind of try to figure out some sales numbers with. Next up, Tuesday Retro Programming returned, and he's been doing this CoCo Space Arc, and he's working on stage 2 here. And he's doing this in P mode 1, I believe. So it's he does a couple of tricks here to try to get the graphics to be up, because this is all basic. There's no machine language subroutines or anything in here. So he's just using get, put, and draw and everything else. But he's using his P-copy trick to basically keep the background steady and then draw the shapes just over the background. And he copies the background quickly over to keep the star field in the background while you're moving across it. And we showed level 1 on one of his vlog updates here a few weeks back, and this is now getting into level 2. And he shows you a little bit of the techniques and stuff. But one thing he did in here is that basically you got this master ship that you come out of, and then this is a volcano on the bottom. And because nothing is really moving on the top half, like all the action is going to take place below, he's actually only P-copying one page, which is basically this bottom half of the screen, which speeds up the graphic redrawing because you're literally copying, a K and a half less than you would if you're copying both pages, which is a nice little programming trick you can definitely use. Like if you design it so that you have like a header, maybe your scores and stuff are on there, or maybe some, information or something like that that is static or fairly static and doesn't get updated that often. If you want to use the P-copy trick here to do some of the background graphics so they're non-destructive, you can definitely save some time, noticeable amount of time, and keep the graphics running faster. So I will let you guys go watch the video for his explanation. I will show a little bit of the animation here just so you can kind of see.
Has a trap door. And I might have to much smaller than the mothership, as you can see. And now I'm off. So this is the play field. And I might have to change the color scheme a little more because I'm blending in.
Yeah, you notice the red ship kind of blended in the volcano. You can just see the lights. I kind of like that effect, actually. So I don't know if he has to change it or not, but he mentions he's going to try to get this game done, and then he's got the Tales of Suburbia, the final version. He's got one or two other gaming projects he wants to get back to too. So I'm still trying to convince him to maybe give a CoCo 3 a try. He's been doing all this stuff in the CoCo 1 and 2, and of course that's what he grew up with, is a CoCo 2. And it's kind of odd because I remember when the CoCo 3 got announced, and we had some rumors about it even before that. Like I was all gung ho, like I want to get the 3 here because it's so much improved. And I didn't really want to wait, and then other people that grew up with the CoCo 2 don't get interested in the CoCo 3 at all. Oh, my froze. Can you guys still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I didn't see anybody moving on the thing, so I thought everything had froze here. Okay. Hey, go check the video out. He gives you kind of a project update on some of the other ones he's going to be working on too, but also some programming techniques which are kind of good for basic programmers. Next up, here's the Glenside meeting we're referring to with Brian Weisler. So it's just about an hour and a quarter, and basically most of it is about the CoCoFEST and getting into the nitty-gritty details, some of the financial details of how it went, etc. Also, some ideas are just kind of thrown out here how to improve the financial state of paying for the show. Obviously we talked about some of that with Brian and stuff earlier here about maybe not taking that third extra room, which didn't really get needed this year. Maybe there's talk that maybe if you have to, you might think about introducing the entrance fees again. Well, honestly, that wouldn't change the financials too much. There's just some other things that we definitely done first. The biggest thing was, as Brian mentioned, it seems to be the auction. The auction just did not have as much hardware, and software does not sell for as high, so you don't make as much money selling it. So if anybody has any excess hardware and stuff and wants to donate it for next year's fest, that would probably help the financial bottom line for Glenside for sponsoring the show quite a bit. Unfortunately, I've pretty well donated all the extra hardware that I'm willing to give up at this point. So maybe some of the people that are making new hardware can donate one of theirs, an upgrade board or a video board or something like that, and get a bit of a bidding war. You might pay a little bit higher than the normal retail value for it, but you know that the funds are going to a good cause. And maybe autograph it or something. Maybe, Alan could sign a Gimme C, and Rick can, sign a CoCo.io board. Henry Strickland can sign a Bonobo board, etc. Next after that, Tony Licari, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, so my apologies. He's an Australian. He's actually been in the CoCo since the early days, in the early 80s, and he's been digging out some of his old boxes of CoCo stuff here. He's posted, we've covered a little bit of here recently. This one was kind of interesting here because he dug into a box filled with magazines, and he's got a nice mixture of both American magazines that he shipped into Australia, or bought from people that brought them into Australia themselves. Some of the companies did back in the day, but also some, Australian unique magazines here too. So I thought I would go through a couple of these. And Nick, if you're still here and still awake,
still awake.
I wouldn't mind if you remember some of these. Do you remember this one called the CoCo magazine, the magazine for experienced Tandy color computer users?
Yep. I used to buy that. It was printed near where I live, actually.
So is this one of the ones that took some Rainbow articles and republished them, or is this one totally original?
No. Originally, that was one called the Australian Rainbow. That was the one that they did that. But then around 85, I think it was, they decided to create a second magazine that was solely Australian content. And it's this one, the Australian CoCo magazine.
Now, is it accurate on the masthead where it says that basically this is a more technically oriented than the regular Australian Rainbow?
Not ultra technical, but no, I'd say it's more like the Rainbow.
Okay. Was it a fairly thick one too, or is it?
Not as thick as the Rainbow. About the same thickness as the color computer magazine in front of it.
Okay. Now, Color Computer Magazine, of course, that was an American publication. We used to get it here in Canada, Canadian Tire.
Yeah, no, that was a good magazine. That was actually I preferred that over Rainbow, actually.
Yeah. They had a good mixture of tech and, gaming and more fun stuff, but it was very professionally laid out. I would say better than Rainbow or CCN or any of the other Hot Cocoa. Like it was, I don't know, a more modern style magazine, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it unless you've read it. Unfortunately, it didn't last super long.
No, it didn't. Most of these, including that Australian CoCo magazine, is in the archive, the CoCo archive.
Yeah, that's true. Color Computer Magazine started in, March of '83. It was a few months before Hot Cocoa started, and I think they lasted till near the end of '84. So it almost went 2 years. Yeah. And I have no idea why it suddenly stopped. But if we go to this next picture, you can see Color Computer News. And I think, if I remember, this is either the last or the second last issue of Color Computer News. This is an American one. This one is definitely more technically oriented. It was not glossy. You could tell it was written by engineers because the English wasn't always the best in the articles and stuff here, sentence structure and that kind of thing. But if you wanted hardcore tech stuff, that was my favorite magazine by far, software and hardware. Hardcore stuff.
CoCo's got a bug on it.
Yeah. It's got a Mark Data Products keyboard in it with a tarantula. I don't think it normally came with that. I think that was an option.
Well, Nick's Australian, so this isn't a particularly notable bug. It's just a
this is like a piker compared to a huntsman spider.
This is a wimpy one.
Yeah, it's a little bug. Yeah.
It's equivalent of our ants.
Yeah, you pick them up, throw them outside.
Yeah,
play with it. Yeah.
But for those of you, I know Color Computer News was not as popular as Rainbow, it never was, or Hot Cocoa, or Color Computer Magazine, but it was the very first CoCo magazine, period. Came out several months before Rainbow did, and it started as a bigger magazine. I think its first issue was like 16 or 24 pages versus Rainbow's 2. But it was real great because the guys that actually wrote it and the publisher of it, Bill Sias, it was actually people that used Gimmixes and other 6800-based systems, S50 and S100 bus systems before the CoCo even came out. So they really knew their Motorola CPU stuff. And that showed in the articles. They had a whole bunch of really good technical stuff. And we've interviewed Bill Sias on the old CoCo Talk show, and it goes into this sad story of exactly why Color Computer News literally disappeared overnight along with the just launched second magazine that they had released. I think they only got 3 or 4 issues out. It was basically on 6809 general stuff, not just CoCo. And it was a combination of a messy divorce, a typesetter equipment failure, and a super heavy snowfall that caved in the roof at their offices, all happening within weeks of each other. And that just, sunk him financially, and he just couldn't come back from that. So, but he was a really nice guy when you interviewed him. So if you haven't seen that interview, I definitely would go check it out. It's got some pretty interesting history of Color Computer News. Color Computer News ran from, I believe, April of '81 until September of '83. And Rainbow, of course, came out in July of '81. And then there's this one here. This one I'm not as familiar with. Soft Gold. It says the magazine for Tandy computers.
It's an Australian one again. So the same people who did the Australian Rainbow and the Australian CoCo magazine also did one called Soft Gold. I think this was more Tandy 1000 from memory.
Yeah, it says on the top masthead, it says the magazine for Tandy computer users, like not CoCo,
Yeah.
but just Tandy. Is that
I
Model
noticed
1000 or Tier City or Model 1000s or
Yeah.
Model 134s or I'm not sure.
So I think that when they did the Australian CoCo magazine as a moving away from the Australian CoCo one, they split CoCo into the Australian CoCo magazine and then put any of the Tandy 1000 stuff into Soft Gold.
Which is
Because
kind of
the
what I think Rainbow did the same, didn't they? Have what was it called? PCM magazine that was covering the
Yeah, probably something like
Tandy
that
1000?
idea.
Yeah.
So I noticed this is April 87, so it is getting to be one of the later magazines.
Yeah. Now, is this one you bought fairly regular too, or is it kind of if it's more
I
Tandy
never bought
1000? It
that.
was
No, that was a PC. I never bought that.
okay. Because I don't know if Soft Gold's on the archive. I haven't checked, but
No, I don't know.
and I don't know if it covered the CoCo at all. Like, is it one of those generic ones
I
that covered
can't-
all Tandy?
I never read the magazine, but yeah.
I have to ask Tony on Facebook in the Tier City Color Computer group on Facebook to see if he can scan a table of contents page or something of one of those Soft Golds just to see was it CoCo even represented this magazine, or is it strictly, Tandy 1000? Did it cover the Tier City Model 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. line too?
Well, the 1, 2, 3, 4s would have been gone by that time. 87, that wouldn't have really
Didn't the Model 4 last? Maybe not.
I don't know. It ended
Around this time, it would have quit, I think.
Yeah, it would have ended around that time. So
'Cause I'm trying to remember, didn't the CoCo 3 and the Model 4 or 4P get announced the same show? Like the same presentation from Tandy?
Model 4, yeah, I'm not sure.
Or was that a
Can't remember.
4D?
Maybe, yeah, maybe one of the later ones. Or maybe I'm thinking the CoCo 2 launch, it was launched. They did the Model 4 at the same time, which would have been 83.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I don't think it was the 3.
Mark B, do you remember was Tandy still selling any of the Tier City model Z80 based machines in 87?
I can't remember. I have to look at the catalog. But if so, they would have been aimed more towards the businesses.
Yeah,
because you look at 80 Micro, the other TRS-80 magazine, it pretty well didn't cover much in the Model 1.3 stuff. It was turning into
no, it flipped entirely over. They actually had a big editorial announcement. I remember.
Yeah,
where they said, "Yeah, we're switching over to the Tandy 1000s," and then of course it disappeared within a year.
Yeah,
because now you're dealing with generic, PC type stuff at that point, and there's PC World and PC Computing and a bunch of others were already out that covered that much better and were much thicker and cheaper.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for Tony for posting these. It was quite interesting to see some of this mix of North American and Australian magazines. Next up, Paul Thayer, of course, of game writing fame. Of course, we mentioned the fact that he's got a kind of a modern, small gamepad style joystick that he's doing design for the CoCo to support dual buttons, etc. And he showed some, and he was taking some requests as to what colors of plastic that people wanted to build them out of. And he mentions here an update on the CoCo group on Facebook. The joysticks are nearly ready to ship. Just a few more things need to come together, hoping to be fully ready in 2 weeks. So if you guys want to get in on the first batch of orders, you probably should send him a message here pretty quick here, because I think the first batch is probably going to be sold out if it isn't already. And it should be shipping by the end of the month, actually, in June. So you should be able to get them by, say, early July, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. Has anybody here on the panel actually ordered one of these, just out of curiosity?
Are there any pictures?
There was on the previous post that he did, but I don't have that handy.
Right.
It's a fairly small, like a gamepad style, like a Nintendo, not like Nintendo, a little bit later than that.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he showed a blue one, but he had, options for colors on the plastic.
Yeah.
Okay, next up after that, in the Facebook MM1 Multimedia 1 computer, the MM1, one of the CoCo 4s, and by far the most successful of them as far as sales went. Joel Evie said, here's a document purporting to be the to compare cycle times between the 68000 and the 68070. Now, of course, the 68000 is Motorola's own chip, and originally was only available up to, I think, 6 or 8 megahertz, and eventually got a little bit faster than that. And then the Signetics chip, which is 68070. Not to be confused with the 68020, 30, 40 that Motorola put out, were much more advanced chips and much faster. But the 70 was kind of almost a microcontroller style chip, because it actually had some extra features on it, but it also ran the 68000 core, but it also was a clean room implementation, so it ran a bit slower on certain functions, etc. And that was always something they were, talking about in Rainbow and some of the other magazines at the time when they were doing the comparisons. That a 68070, which normally came at 15 megahertz on both the M1 and the TC70, and I think on the CDI as well. Basically, it ran the equivalent of roughly between a 10 and 12 megahertz 68000. So it was cycle for cycle a little bit slower on a lot of the commands, but it had a higher frequency to begin with, so it actually did good. But it also had some special, features that it had unique that the 68000 didn't have. He said the experiments I've done on the MM1 decoding JPEGs and running Drystone, for example, suggest that the 68070 running at 15 megahertz is roughly equivalent to a 68000 running at 10 to 12 megahertz, depending on the instruction mix. And that's the big thing. So here's the actual, I made a kind of a PDF version locally here. And this was on the list, way back in the day here. And they're mentioning both the M1 and the TC70. And Matthew Thompson, this is a guy that actually did one of the main SCSI drivers for the CoCo NOS 9 back in the day, as well as some other projects that he did. From Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. So he's actually in the backyard nearby, not too far from where the work thing is going to be. I'll have to see if he's still around. But he kind of goes through here, like roughly comparing, and he's actually comparing some other 68000 machines at the time. So he's got the M1 TC70 running at 15 megahertz on a 68070. And he's also got the Amiga, the Atari ST, and the Macintosh, and the speeds they were at, which are all pretty close to each other, 7.14 megahertz, 8 megahertz, 7.68. And then how long is a clock cycle on each of those in nanoseconds, and how long is a bus cycle? Because there were definitely some things that the bus cycle was quite a bit different on certain instructions. And, caveat here, this is not including 68000, 20, 30, 40, which are quite a bit faster than the Signetics chip. And then goes into, how different addressing modes affect things and how many extra cycles you get depending on what addressing mode you're using. And you'll see like a couple here, there's no extra cycles for a data register direct or address register direct. So they're the same clock for clock speed if you're running at the same frequency. Address register indirect is 4 and 4, as is register index with post increment. But now you start seeing the differences after that. So address register independent with pre-decrement takes an extra cycle on the Signetics chip than it does on the Motorola chip. And then when you start adding in different things, it starts getting several cycles slower, like 8 to 11 and then 12 to 14. That's, you could see why, depending on your code mix, that some things would run, 10 to 20, 30% slower if it has a lot of a certain instruction mix. With some extremes here, like this one, program counter relative with index, using a 16-bit data with the PC added to a register. And it's adding 4 cycles per instruction to run the 68070. Now you'll gain some of that back from being at 15 megahertz versus 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, but it can actually make a fair bit of a difference. The move instruction, which is actually a very common one to use, the block memory move. It's 3 extra cycles on the 68070. And then depending on which move instruction, it actually starts getting, even more. So they have this big move long thing. I won't read the whole thing. But it basically goes from a 32 to a 43 cycles per instruction. So there is definitely a bit of a slowdown on certain things. Other things, it's exact same speed, cycle for cycle. So it really depends on the instruction mix. It's kind of the 639, because there's certain instructions that get no gain from native mode at all. There's other that get like a cycle difference, and there's like a few other that, get multiple cycle difference. Index modes with the W register, for example, usually only add 1 cycle, whereas normally a 16-bit register takes an extra 4. So there's certain things that actually are quite a bit faster on the 639 versus 6809. So instruction mix makes a huge difference on both of those CPUs. But yeah, if you guys do any programming with the 68000 or the 68070, or if you have a CDI, an MM1, a TC70 that uses the 68070, this is a really good technical document that Joel's been trying to find for a while, and he finally found a copy of it. And it goes into quite a bit of detail.
We need someone to demonstrate an MM1 to on the show. So
yeah, Joel would be the best one, because he actually has been on the show and he's been actively using his M1 recently. I know like other people like David Ladd have one, but I think he said he can't boot it or something. David, if you're still in the chat, let me know. I remember there's some detail you couldn't really show too much on it. Or maybe there's a boot disk is corrupt or something. I can't remember the exact details. And there's different versions of OSK, which is what all the M1 TT70s ran, was OS 968,000, but there was like a version 2.3, a 2.4, and a 3.0. And there was quite a bit of changes, especially to 3.0 within the operating system itself.
Be good to see what the GUI was like as well that they made.
Yeah, because K-Windows that Kevin did was pretty close to the CoCo. In fact, the CoCo one was the basis of it, and then he added to it. But there was also alternative ones. There's MGR, which I think some of the System 4 and 5 machines used. G-Windows, which is one I actually ran at work on OS 9000 on the x86 platform, with this little sand pail for being out on the beach when you're making sand castles. And that was your trash can. Filled with sand when you threw files in it. And it was actually quite a nice little GUI. It was quite well done, actually, especially for the time. But here's one thing that was really different between them was exception processing times. I mean, you trigger an exception like a divide by zero error or something, these error traps. And you can see it goes, 158 cycles versus 50. That's a pretty big, pretty big jump. Like that's 3 times slower. Next after that, now I do know that Simon actually sent me, I didn't discover it till this morning, and I didn't have time to actually, download and test it. But he's been working on his wobble mode, as he's calling it, where you're basically swapping, basically to shift the pixels up or down, kind of like a half pixel, to actually kind of a color blend on the semi-graphics 12 and 24 modes, so you can get much higher color resolution. So he's posted a bunch more samples here, and he hasn't quite got this version that he's got the pictures from here with that black line. It was just a mistake in his program, which he was working on the color blending first and we're about fixing the bug after. From what he told me in the private message, that he does have the black line every 8 lines or whatever it is gone, like that's fixed. So these little horizontal stripes you're seeing every 8 pixels will be gone on the final version. But basically this wobble mode will give you the potential of having up to 121 colors on a CoCo 1, 2, or a Dragon using this wobble mode technique. And he said, I'm not sure you can do this on any other 6847 machine other than the CoCo, because it requires the SAM to use all these extra high-res graphics, SG modes. And I think like Acorn Adams and stuff that I've seen that do use the same VDG and don't have a SAM can't do any of those. The Dragon obviously can because it also has a SAM in it, but the MC10, for example, can't. At any rate, yeah, you can see even from the, the distance here, and I'll zoom some of these up here. Like I said, these horizontal stripes, ignore those. That's just a bug he had and he fixed later on. But he's getting some pretty decent results here. Now, I was going to ask Ron Delvaux, Simon normally sends you stuff to test. Did he send you a version of this to run?
Yep, well, some of this later stuff, no, but earlier stuff, yes. And, I have it set up to run on a, CRT and then an LED monitor, and that's pretty amazing. The lines, if the lines were fixed, it'd be awesome to see what it looks like.
Yeah, now I'm zooming up. You can see these little horizontal lines where the colors dramatically shift from what they should be.
Just step back from it. Looks pretty.
Yeah. So since I didn't have time to actually get the disk image downloaded and tested and everything else and make sure which emulators it works on or whatever, I'll cover it next week. But just want to show you did some more examples of it. I also want to see the effect itself here. Like, do you get a bit of a flicker? Do you get a bit of a screen shake or whatever type thing?
I sent him a bunch of like BMP files of different pictures that I used in my high color stuff. Or yeah, I think so. And asked him if he thought maybe he could do the same thing with some of those pictures because they're contrasty and they have a lot of color, and some have skin tones and stuff that you can play with. He's a wizard at all this stuff.
Now, I believe he can't view it in existing file format, like a regular format, like a JPEG or GIF or something. I think this requires a pre-processing done with a modern programming language of some sort that kind of creates a file that his CoCo routines actually read in, just to make it faster for displaying and interpreting, I think. He can correct me if I'm wrong on that one later on. But yeah, I'll see if I can get it demonstrating for next week here. I'll see if I can get it running on the.
So when he says he wobbles it, he moves it. You said half a pixel up. Is that like between scan lines, or?
I think it's the alternate refreshes because, of course, when you're doing 60 hertz, you're actually getting the half frame.
Yeah.
Each time.
So that would be between scan lines.
Yeah, it's supposed to make it like I asked him, is this basically just fancy double buffering? He said no, it's a bit different than that because of the way it's doing the interlay scan on each half frame.
He says it's 1 pixel shift.
A pixel.
Yeah.
Okay, that might be a scan line then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I missed last week's show, so I didn't get to hear the details.
Yeah, and like I said, I just briefly saw his messenger message here earlier, and I didn't get a chance to really go through with any detail.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll see when he's finished.
Oh, Joel Evie's in the chat talking about the M1 here. He says, I don't have a desktop program for K Windows, but I could show off a few of the applications that have their own GUI, such as Kotansky's graphic viewers, Eric Critchlow's file manager. If Alan Huffman will get me a copy of Joel Hegberg's Write word processor, I can show that off too. There's a demo version of that I could show. That'd be awesome, Joel, because a lot of the people in the CoCo community now never saw it, because the MM1 TC70, that was like a 1 or 2 year window for the most part, unless you followed the world of 6 to 8 micros from Frank Swaggart afterwards that were sold there for a little bit afterwards. But a lot of people never saw those because it got out of the CoCo market into PCs or Macs, before those ever came out, because they came out, what, 90, 91, if I remember?
Something like that.
Yeah. And it was a pretty high-end machine considering.
And I have an MM1, but I have not done anything with it because I haven't got a screen for it.
The CMH should work fine. It was set up for 15.75 kilohertz, 60 hertz.
Yeah, I know, but I have to move my whole CoCo setup. But yeah, I need something to entice me to do that. So yeah, I need to be sold on it.
Yeah.
Sounds like you need something from Jason. A
Yeah.
cable. With extra RGBs on it. Yeah.
And Joel Evie, like I thought Kevin included a version of like the equivalent of a G shell as part of K Windows, or am I mistaken? And James Jones is saying he got his MM1 in 1991. I should post a photo of the mailing label. And I forgot when I got the AT306. The AT306 was kind of a sequel. I think it was also known as the MM1B, and that was a 68,340 microcontroller based machine, but it was running it. It was an actual Motorola part, had a bunch of extra I/O built into the chip, and actually ran about twice as fast as the original M1 with the Signetics chip did, if I remember correctly. Rick, did you ever have an M1 or a TC70 or any of those?
No, I've got a System 5 kicking around that I really need to get a hard drive solution for and see if
Yeah, because I mean, Rainbow had cover stories on all three of the quote-unquote CoCo 4s, the TC9/TC70, the MM1, and the System 4 and System 5 by Ed Gressick of Delmar. And because a lot of people in the CoCo community nowadays never saw any of this stuff back in the day, I would love to have a special episode that we do that we kind of cover those all. And if we can have people that actually have them to demonstrate them, I can even dig my TC9 out. Hopefully it still boots. I haven't tried in a while. And then actually kind of show them off.
I still have my hammer.
Oh, what is that?
This was the Delmar System 4 giveaway hammer. We all chased each other around CoCoFEST.
Oh, right. I kind of remember that now.
And whacked it. It's still hanging on just.
Yeah, Bill Noble and I did not participate in that because we were TC9 guys.
Oh, right.
The MM1 you just showed is actually mine when I hit on the site there.
You no longer have one though, right?
No, I sold it way back.
Okay.
Yep. But I had it running. It was cool.
Yeah, Jolie, was saying in the chat here, said there were third-party G Shell like things, but I didn't get one with my M1. I always thought they had something like multi-views G Shell. Okay. Do you remember Ron or Rick? If did you guys get a GUI with it, or do you just have to run programs from the command line that might have a GUI in the program itself?
No, I've got a GUI from Delmar. I don't remember what it was. I'm afraid to turn the thing on because I want to save every last spin of its hard drive to copy it onto something else. So
I can't remember actually. I have some pictures that I have.
I remember I had bad mouse jitter, so
Serial, weren't those serial-based mice? I remember.
yes, and it
Wow, it shouldn't be doing that with serial.
Well, I don't know. There was some issue with the machine. I'm sure it wasn't interpreting quite correctly. But anyway, I decided I'll turn it off until I have a copy of the hard drive on something else.
Maybe you
haven't bought that yet.
Maybe you didn't clean that ball in your mouth like you're supposed to.
Right.
Oh yeah, these would be pre the light-based ones like we have now.
And it was just plain jittery all the time. So you had to sort of aim and time your click for when it had jittered over the icon that you wanted to hit. But
do you remember?
Like the CoCo.
Yeah, kind of.
Inside there, you would get dust in there.
Yeah, you had to unscrew the thing on the bottom and then clean the mouse ball because there's like cat hair trapped in it and all kinds of stupid things. Yeah, I would like to see that because I do remember the M1 running some of the graphic demos in the the IFF format. There was kind of that Amiga animated graphic with sound format type stuff. They used to demo, but I thought there was a GUI because I remember seeing pictures because they had a coffee cup instead of the Tandy logo as your built-in utilities menu for like the control panel and the calculator and the calendar and all that stuff because I thought they did the same as they did with the level 2 version 3 upgrade, but maybe I'm remembering wrong.
Didn't the whole K Windows thing bring multi-view along, which had the coffee cup that Mark?
Yeah, that's what I kind of remember. And that would have been the TC70 and the MM1 both. I think the System 4 and 5 generally stuck with G Windows, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure G Windows is what it was strange. So
I do remember G Windows because I used that at work for about a year and a half.
And yeah, mine was not derived from the CoCo because it was enough different.
Yeah, it was actually created by Gispac in Germany, if I remember correctly. It was like a high-end GUI for OS 9000 and OS 68K.
Yeah, a demo of the MM1 would be good.
Yeah, and if we can get somebody with a TC70 and a TC9 and a System 4 or 5, just to kind of like I said, I would love to have a CoCo 4 special, like what the market tried to create as CoCo 4s back in 1991.
That'd be interesting. Get it on the tube.
Yeah, have a big special about it. I just don't know. Like TC70s are pretty rare. I don't know who still has one. Mind you, hardware-wise, it's pretty close to the MM1. So if you showed an MM1, it's pretty well the same.
Well, there's another tech show for
that might be a regular show. I wouldn't mind doing that as a regular episode because that's going to be pretty big and long for a tech talk thing style.
All right, okay.
Or CoCo Tech.
Nick,
unless Mark wants to do a 3-hour CoCo Tech episode. What do you think, Mark? Oh, he left. Oh, he heard about 3-hour episode and he ran away.
He just...
Well, he could do it in 3 1-hour episodes, one for each of the kinds of machines.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah, but I want to kind of do a comparison video too, because that was something we tried to do back in the day, right?
Well, 4 episodes, 3 episodes.
It's a crossover episode on CoCoNation. Yeah, so 3 CoCo Techs to dive into each one, and then
the grand combined crossover. We could get through half a year on these things.
Nick, what case was your MM1 in?
It's in a tower.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah, I think most of the ones I saw were pizza box style.
Yeah, I never saw it. I've seen them on, various places in the net when they talked about it.
Yeah, because the TC9 that Frank Hogg sold, I mean, Bill and I both had the mini tower, but I had seen one guy had a big tower and I'd seen a couple of the pizza box style. Because once again, you could pick whatever case you wanted.
Did Alan Huffman have one?
He had an M1 for sure.
Yeah, because he had the pizza case style, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. Ed had a bunch of different towers, but he had the same sticker on each one.
Right.
If you look closely, not all of the System 4s or 5s matched exactly. they were kind of a generic tower,
Yeah, his was quite different too, because his was designed to use ISA, standard PC cards, and as long as you had the drivers for a VGA card, for example, you could actually, take a stock off the shelf VGA card. But it was very specific as to which ones worked with which one driver.
A Zing Labs video card, and then my 6820 is it? Might be a 30.
Well, that's right.
It's
Yeah,
on
because
a
it's
little-
System 5. I think it had 68020, like a full 32-bit chip.
on its own little CPU card that plugs in as well. So it's a really strange little system. I got to do.
He also had the option. Didn't he have the option? You could get an 8086 card to plug it in. You can actually run like DOS programs on at the same time as OS 9 was 1000 or OS 9 68K was running. Because didn't he demonstrate like King's Quest or something running on a?
Sounds familiar. I don't
kind of faintly remember that. Terry Trapp says in the chat here says, "Too bad there's not a Nitro OSK." I'm not writing it.
It's a whole new career.
Actually, you don't really need to do that if you're just trying to increase the speed. There's so many 6 to 8,000, modern re-implementations of the chip that run at like 900 megahertz now. If you want just a faster OSK, just do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to do that. So if anybody listening to the show after the fact or in the chat or in the Discord, send me if you have any of these old machines, the old CoCo 4s, quote unquote, TC9, TC70, System 4, System 5, MM1, MM1B, AT306. And if you still have one running and you still have some of the boot software and maybe some sample programs, let's see if we can organize something. And whether it's a one-parter or a multi-parter across, the two different shows, CoCoTech or the CoCoNation show, I would just like to get to see them and show people that weren't around in that time period and missed all the CoCo 4 furor. Because I remember Rainbow was looking forward to it and they were demonstrating. They had cover pictures in full color. The MM1 had a bunch of M&Ms, I think, all over the cover there. That was kind of the theme. And then a couple months after all that, Lonnie did his rather infamous editorial saying all these machines are going to fail. You guys should just go buy PCs or Tandy 1000s.
If you have a timeline or a date you want to do it, I can do some artwork for it so we can advertise for it, or have it on the green area.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take people to respond and how many people actually have ones that are up and running still.
Like you want to do it in 2 weeks or that kind of thing?
Oh, not that fast. I don't think we'll get that many
okay.
people that fast.
2
Right,
months.
And like I said, I'd like to herd all the cats together at once here and try to show all of them in a short time span if we can.
All right. Contact me when it's getting close and I'll make it.
Okay.
Or, however you want to do it. Or you want me to do it first and get everybody excited?
Yeah, that might actually help get people to, I will dig my old machine out.
Draw it and they will come.
Yeah. Ron drew my pizza box style one wrong here, so he needs to see how it's supposed to look.
Prove, yeah.
I'll come up with a couple of different ideas because the theme would be CoCo 4, right? And
yeah, the quote unquote official CoCo 4s as rainbow.
And the logo for it, but then some kind of a mix of something. I have to think. Maybe it'll be a faux rainbow cover or something with the.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 rainbow covers in a 4-month span. There's 1 month they skipped, and they covered the TC9, 70, the M1, and the System 4, I think it was. And there's pictures inside as well, kind of showing screenshots and what the hardware looks like taken apart and stuff.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
So you can grab some of those as either inspiration or as part of the artwork.
All right.
Anyway, public call to everybody that has those machines that are still running, or even if they're not running, just to show what their machine looked like might be a plus in itself.
Yeah. I have some pictures of mine, with the screen on and lettering on it, and the back of the machine, and I don't know if I ever opened it up, but
okay,
something to contribute, I guess.
Nice.
Okay, and then the last story here before I head out, and I will then pass it off to Ken to cover the gaming stuff, is a translation. Well, not really translation. It's from the original Alice, and this was a little demo program that came with the Alice, which of course is the MC10 4K clone in red that France sold through Metra. And it's just a little graphics demo and semi-graphics that Jim got up on his MC10 here just to kind of show what it looked like. And this came bundled with, or it was a type in, I can't remember, on the Alice. Maybe I'll turn the sound down a bit. It's coming in.
Yeah.
But it just basically had a little animation of this girl waving her arms and moving her eyes and her hair, all in semi-graphics. So it's kind of a cool little 4K demo.
Reminds me of that devil thing.
Dancing Devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a simplified version of it, yeah. All right, that's all the regular news I have, and I have to run out early here today, so I will pass the show on to you guys. And then if you want one more break, or if you want to just do the intro for the game stuff, and then Ken can take it over.
Watch it, Ken. You'll catch your hair on fire.
Well, have a nice run, sir.
Right.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You ready to go, Ken, or you need a break?
I'm ready to go.
It's been on break this whole time.
Do you want to do the game on results first?
Yeah, we'll do the results first.
All right, here we go.
Welcome everybody to the CoCoNation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Flying Tigers. We had a total of 13 players. We had Mark B with 300, Retro Rick 2000, Ed Rhodes 3950, Shenley 4900, Mike Zweifel 5950, Jim Rye 11,500, Doug V 4850, 13,950. Paul Shoemaker 15,450. Sloopy Malibu 17,450. Canadian Retro Things 19,050. L Curtis Boyle 19,600. Dr. Ted 45,800. And this week's number one score belongs to Tasman with 76,700. Thanks everybody that played. We'll see you again next week.
And the CoCoNation salutes Tasman.
Salute!
Nice job.
Yeah, that was a good snipe with that score too, because it came in as the bell was ringing.
Yeah. Technically, it came in a couple minutes after the bell rang, but he still had first place, even if I didn't take his slightly late score. And by the way, Sloopy, I'm sorry. I know I said that I would never beat your score, but the one game I played last night actually beat you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Beginner's luck.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, every other game I played, I got like 2,000 or 3,000 points.
I want a recount. I want an investigation.
I agree. There should be, because I really suck at Defender games, and I don't know how I scored that well.
Me either. I was talking about my score. That was the only one that I got over 8,000.
So, Flying... What the heck is that game called? Flying Tigers. I keep wanting to say Flying Dragons.
I'm the one with the memory issues, not you.
I know, but for some reason I want to call it Flying Dragons.
Same difference.
No, probably because I used to go to a Chinese restaurant called the Flying Dragon. Anyways, yeah. So Defender clone, it's actually a really good Defender clone on the CoCo, especially for an early one. And yeah, for tips and tricks for this game, other than don't die, I would say it's definitely a lot easier to control with an analog joystick, because it's got one that doesn't really have a dead zone in the middle, so you always flip to one side or the other. So.
Yeah, I had that issue even on my analog.
Well, yeah, but I mean, your 0 point, there is actually no technical 0 point that doesn't have you facing to the one direction that it will always turn you to the one direction, no matter how close to the center you get. Otherwise, just fly along not too quickly and keep firing.
If it moves, shoot it. If it doesn't move, shoot it.
Yep. Unless it's your guys. But, you could fly along the bottom and actually a way to get good points, especially in the first stage, is don't destroy the aliens right away. Let them go down and pick up your men and then shoot them. You don't have to worry because your men don't die if they fall back down to the ground. But if you catch them in the air and set them back down, you get like 1,000 points. So it's a good way to rack up a score. Other than that, anybody else have some tips and tricks? Mark, with your amazing... Oh, Mark's away.
Yeah,
I was going to say...
I'm still in earshot. It didn't work so well on VCC.
With your 300 points, you don't have any tips or tricks?
No, I couldn't even do that don't die thing.
Well, yeah, because it's one of the games that on VCC was running at double speed for some strange reason, which will be fixed soon, apparently. So, other than that, I don't know what else is there to say about this game other than it's quite an enjoyable Defender clone. Anybody?
So do I get an award for picking a good game that's not Neutroid?
Yes. Yay. Yay, Sloopy.
Hey.
You stay employed another week.
No, I'm not going to make you take over the Game On Challenge. I'm not just going to walk away and make you take over for at least another week. See, that's in the Game On Challenge community. You don't get punished by being fired. You get punished by being promoted.
Yes. Yeah, ask Jim Ryan all about it.
All right. So I guess we could talk. I didn't find any articles on this game. So I don't have any reviews, but I think if anybody did review it, it probably would have been reviewed quite well because especially compared to other like things that would have been out at the same time, like the Atari 2600 Defender and stuff like that. This was, I would say, a far superior version.
Excuse me, Game On High Council.
Yeah.
Can we check the chat?
Give Sloopy a raise for picking a good game. Absolutely. Actually, I agree. You're 50%.
And the other
I'd say
one?
double it. We'll double it.
Okay, we'll double. Fine. Sloopy gets double pay from now on.
Woohoo!
It's just like a 0 + 0 =
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. 0 times 2 still equals 0.
Our accountants are all over that.
Like,
okay. Just checking.
Hey, it's still
yeah, comparatively to other versions of Defender that would have been out at the time, I think, other than, of course, the arcade, this would have been pretty superior to just about all of them. I can't actually think of any of the ones that I played on other systems that...
So is that going to be a Canadian Retro Things comparison video here pretty soon?
It's not a bad idea. I could maybe do that. Just got to think of which Defender versions. Of course, this is not the other. On the other versions, I think they are official Defender clones. Like this is an homage to Defender.
Yeah, this is as official as most CoCo ports.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Just compare the Defender likes up to the point.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I will put my best people on that.
Yeah, me, myself, and I.
No, actually, my cat writes all my scripts. So.
Yeah, I was like, where is the cat? Because I don't see him in the background, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
your best people,
napping.
Cat is that?
Yeah, my best people are napping right now. They found a sunbeam.
Yeah.
Yeah, they watch the news.
All right, so the other game that we played this week was Bonka, which is, I guess, a Space Panic clone.
That drives you bonkers.
Yep, it's got some problems. So, Sloopy, I'm cutting your salary in half for choosing this game.
No, it's not a bad game.
It's a divide by zero error.
It's
yes. You can't cut my pay. It's a divide by zero error.
Oh, that's true. I mean, it's not a bad game, but definitely the fact that you have to be perfectly positioned to fill in the holes when an alien falls into them. If people haven't played Space Panic before, basically you dig a hole, an alien falls into it, and then you have to bury them in it, and then they fall down to the next level and die. So in this one, you have to be very precise on where you stand to fill the hole in. It's pixel perfect. And climbing the ladders is annoying because if you don't go up perfectly pixel far enough, you fall through the floor and land on the level below. So
yeah, you actually have to go above it, like almost one rung of the ladder.
Yep, pretty much. Oh, I see Bob. Bob is playing it right now.
I rage quit this one.
And check that keyboard out.
Yeah, I was about to say we need to talk to Bob about that keyboard after this segment.
Wasn't that the keyboard he was talking about earlier?
Probably.
Was it? I came on late. I missed it.
Is that the one he just built?
Exactly. I just built this and now I'm testing it out.
Take a look at how it works for gaming.
Missing.
Take a look at the bright lettering on there.
Yeah. See that's what they use for teaching typing.
That's the typing teaching keyboard. Yeah, I had a typewriter just like that when I was in school. Had no keys on it, so I printed them all out and taped them to the keys.
White on white.
Right.
How RC.
I like the keyboard. I just think it does need the labeling.
They won't yellow.
Yeah. This is going to be the one that I probably figure out my dye sublimation on. I'm not going to put stickers on this. I'm sure it's not going to use a Sharpie.
You'll have to
just laser etch them. Get a laser etcher.
Well, I thought about that too.
Use a Sharpie, write it on the front, not the top, and you're good.
Yeah, it'll be a Sharpie font.
Just make stencils and use a Sharpie.
No, that one's a good layout, Bob.
Yeah, I'm liking it. I used tactile switches this time, and it's got a nice little. It's like normally when I'm playing, I rest my fingers on the keys, and it's easy to accidentally press down an arrow key and start moving, almost like having your deluxe joystick off center. But with this, it's like you have to. There's a little hump you have to get past. So
there's a little click to let you know you just messed up.
Every day is hump day with a keyboard, huh?
It's not really like a click. It feels like the old membrane keyboards, like the bubble, like the rubber bubbles.
Oh, okay.
More of a bump than a click.
Not quite the buckling spring feel, but yeah.
No, almost like a TV remote.
The keys either side of the space bar, what are they? Function 1 and 2 and
that's Control and Alt on the left and F1 and F2 on the right. So Control Alt reset.
We have to
arrow keys, arrow keys, arrow keys.
Well, we have to take your word for it, don't we?
Yeah, kind of do.
They could technically be anything.
Yeah, they could.
You just say anything.
It's all the same as this.
Oh, there you go.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we saved the day.
Except this one doesn't have the stickers. It's just got wrong labels.
Yeah. No, it's good. Looking good.
See, I moved the space bar over one. That's one of the main differences in the new keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this layout a little better.
Yeah, I like
it.
Do you get confused after a while if you're typing on different keyboards?
Oh.
What am I doing?
No,
Like 7
because-
different, almost the same keyboards.
Yeah, all my keyboards are the same when I'm typing on them or when I'm
Okay.
gaming. This is the only thing that changed.
Oh, okay.
I like
When
the
I-
colors.
Yeah, when I get confused is when I'm trying to do the CoCo 2 keys. If I'm, some games put the like
Right.
Q and A or Q and Z, whatever, to make it a CoCo 3 feel like a CoCo 2. And those are the games that drive me nuts.
Now, are you going to
See,
get in trouble with the keyboard being so white that it's going to make everybody's computer look sort of yellow? They're
No,
really-
because you can get keycaps that are yellow too.
Oh,
So, Bob, are you going to come out with the French Canadian version?
You know, if you give me a layout, put the
It just
what
moves
is
all the
that?
symbols around to different places.
Azerty. Yeah.
Of course it does.
No,
You would
the French Canadian one is still a QWERTY board. It just has all the symbols are in different places.
Oh, good.
Just to be
Well, I think
irritated.
that's a ROM issue.
Right. Can't fix that with switches. Nope.
Yeah, you need that for your CoCo Do.
hey, Rick, I got one of your keyboards sitting here next to me. I don't know if you can hear it.
We're background noised out, but
Yeah, okay. Well,
All right, well, perhaps we'll move on from keyboards now and get back to games.
yeah.
oh, man, that's what we were doing.
But you need them to play the game.
Yes, I was.
That's
gaming
true.
on
That's
mine.
true. Yeah, you were gaming on yours. Yep. So, well, Bob, you were just playing Bonka. What do you think of it? What problems do you think it has that could be fixed?
Well, the fact that you can't dig on the bottom level is a little confusing at first, but once I got past that, the fact that you have to be in a specific horizontal position before you can dig, and there's no indication whatsoever where those are,
Yeah.
other than not being able to dig.
Although with the bottom rung that you can't dig on, I don't think you can in any of the Space Panic games. Because the only way you can kill aliens is by dropping them down to the next level.
Right.
And this one, I don't think has, in the original Space Panic, there are aliens get harder where you actually have to drop them. You have to dig holes above each other, and you got to drop them down like 2 levels to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And these are aliens from space, not the local ones that come across the border.
Right.
Does that make them more or less illegal?
Depends. If you're playing in Canada and they're Americans, then it's more legal.
If they have that laser beam, you're done for.
Nah, in Canada, we just use the Canadian space arm to pick up the people and drop them back into the United
Chuck 'em.
States.
Don't lie. You use a trebuchet to send them back.
That would be fun.
Only in the north. Only in
For
the
a little
north.
while.
How many times do they do that? Because can you get a reride? I mean,
Well, that depends on whether we're nice enough to give you a parachute for the landing or not.
At least aim for water.
Right, you're right. Aim for one of the Great Lakes. They're big. You could hit it.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, I agree that that the fact that there's no visual cue to when you're actually lined up to be able to dig is a bit annoying. But other than that, I mean, it's actually a pretty good game.
yeah, it's fun.
I'm, like I said, not the greatest version of this that I've played, but not the worst.
Well, so far my high score is 0.
I did make an appearance on Thursday for a
Yep,
short
we'll
time.
we'll be getting to that right away.
Oh, geez.
We all had to beg Ron not to show us up, so he didn't play
Yeah.
any games.
I have something special for you guys.
You should have seen it, everybody. If you weren't watching the show, Ron showed up and he's like, "Now I'm going to show you guys how to play this."
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "No, please, Ron, don't embarrass us. Let us think that we're good at these games. So with that, how about we do take a look at the show on Thursday, and we can let Sloopy talk about that.
Me?
Okay.
What did I do to deserve this?
Geez, I've got so many things open here. Where's the show? I'm not used to this having to do Curtis's job too, so I've got too many tabs open.
The tabs.
There, that's the one.
Ta-da!
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great show. We had like 7 people actually.
And Ron Delvaux.
And
That's right.
Ron Delvaux was one of them. Ron Deluxe. We had both Rons. We had deluxe and regular versions. So, and we actually had people playing the games of the game of the week. So that was a bonus because they were actually good games.
I couldn't figure out how to get my sound working, but I did eventually. But
I think that's a Discord problem because just about every time that I sign into Discord now, it's changed my settings for sound and video.
yeah.
Yeah, the Discord can be a little difficult, but once you get it figured out, it's okay. But yeah, we had a great time. We actually had, I think, up to 7 people watching. So, and we were visited by all the greats. We had Ron Deluxe. We had L Curtis Boyle. We had Canadian retro things. So we did really well this week.
So here's Curtis playing Flying Tiger.
Yeah, I was watching you play with the slider. Sorry, shiny object. The one thing I had an issue with was those things right there.
Yeah.
That make a wall.
Mm-hmm.
It was like anytime they appeared, I would like instantly die.
Well, save your smart bombs for them.
They're
smart bombs?
Yeah, if you hold the fire button down for like about 1 second, then it sets off a smart bomb. That's the little X's that are up there. So many smart bombs you have.
Yeah, well, I'd be dead before the smart bombs were deployed. So,
well, you watch your radar, and when they're about to come onto the screen, you just stand still, and when they show up, then blast them.
What actually causes them?
There's one of the ships that when you blow it up, it fragments into all the little ones.
Yeah, that was the thing, because as soon as I would shoot that ship, they would show up and I'd be dead immediately.
I think it's the red ship. Like there's a red square.
Mm-hmm.
The white squares, that thing right there.
Swarmers.
There you go.
Yep, swarmers.
So the white ones, what they do is they lay mines. So
right there.
Yeah.
There wasn't even one next to him when he died.
The hitbox wasn't perfect on this game.
For most things it was. But not for those. But yeah, it's 7 is a great number of people to come play, but we need more. I want to see a whole grid of people.
Yeah, let's see if we can max this thing out.
Yeah, that's 16 people. I mean, we've had 9 in the past. I think we've had like 12, but that's it.
So, what game would get everyone to show up?
Predator?
BC Bill.
Hey, you don't know how close I came to choosing that.
Hey, if you want to choose it, then I'll let you. I am not taking any responsibility for that.
And I am not reading the instructions.
I was gonna have Ron Deluxe read the directions.
Yeah.
So if any of you want to know why we make fun of BC Bill and don't choose it as a game on challenge, just go try it.
Well, actually, the game itself isn't too
The
bad.
game is actually really good. Like the gameplay and everything is really good in it.
Yeah, read the directions.
Read the directions. It's not what you would call politically correct.
That's an understatement. Well, Annie offered to read the directions for us.
Or
That's
even
true,
family
yeah.
friendly.
Yeah. Well, let's just say they are not in
We're not in
Is
the
it-
80s anymore.
Is
They're
it
not-
something a drill sergeant would give
no.
directions?
No. Nope.
No, it's their opinion of a certain group of people on this planet is not
More like an old Richard Pryor routine.
yeah. Holy cow, you can collect 2 humans at the same time?
Yeah, that's actually a way to get lots of points in the Real Defender is you actually don't ever set the humans down, keep collecting them. Because the more you have that you're carrying, the more points you get for setting them down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It multiplies.
Do that.
And then it's like multi-slaughter, huh?
Yeah. When you die, then all
Yeah.
the humans that you're carrying die too.
Yeah.
So
So, all right. That's enough of BC Bill.
Yep.
So what
Back to
yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I was just gonna say let's get back to talking about the games.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there's anything more that we can discuss on the whole issue of the game on challenge. So,
Well,
what's
what about
game
the
for
fact
next
that
week?
well, I think maybe we should actually discuss all these people that are listening to this and really want to join us. When, where, and how would they do that?
Well, when on the CoCo Discord, where?
No, when would be Thursday.
How would be Thursday?
Can you be
where?
double -0 on this?
Where would be Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And how would be in the CoCo Discord. Some assembly of the directions is required.
And you can play, as you can see, not everybody right now is playing the game of the week.
Yep.
We just suggest you play CoCo games. And you don't have to have real hardware or an emulator. You can just go into the archive and hit the play now button and just stream from there. Just share your screen.
As we can see, Coconut Bob's playing what's that, root beer?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Ron Deluxe is playing What's Wrong with Discord Today?
Yeah, I need to turn it on.
That was Brewmaster.
Brewmaster.
Yeah, Brewmaster, that's it.
So alrighty. I guess that's it.
I'm expecting a full house on Thursday night. I mean,
yes.
we're going to have to open up a waiting room.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully it remembers your settings. I can go back on.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at what the...
week?
Well, we will be playing... Let me just close that out. Now, I know this is going to be a game that's really hard for people to guess what it is because it's a really It's a gem of a really unknown game. Probably nobody on the panel's ever seen this one before, but I think it's a fun game. It was suggested to me actually just yesterday. So see if anybody can guess what this game is.
Are there any good reviews of it?
It's pretty much a brand new game, so.
Looks like an Inafuto game, maybe? Or is it one of the Spectrum ports?
It's one of the AGD games.
Yeah, it looks like an AGD game. Looks like Bubble Bobble or something.
Bing, bing, bing.
Is it Puntos?
It's Bubble Bobble.
So what's the Puntos in the top?
I have no idea.
So that little character with one tooth has to pop the bubbles.
So if you haven't played Bubble Bobble, it was like a very popular game back in the 80s. You're basically a little guy that shoots bubbles out of his mouth, and you have to trap your enemies in them and then pop the bubble while they're in it, so that and that's how you destroy them.
Puntos means points.
Oh, okay. So just to show you again here.
Nothing like a black and white game on a color computer.
Well, this is this is one of the AGD games
too.
So you're the little guy in the center of the screen there. So you're shooting the bubbles out, and you got to trap these good little guys in them. So
you're a dinosaur, and you're trying to
I think that's you.
Prevent the proliferation of humans.
Anyway, it's a really fun game. This is actually a little bit harder than actual Bubble Bobble. It runs, I think, a little bit faster. So,
can you turn on the artifacting, Ken? Do you have that as a switch?
No,
because that should artifact okay, I think.
Well, this is this a Sinclair game that was ported over?
Yeah, this is one of the ones that was Sinclair game ported over.
So we don't have the 8x8 color squares behind it to make the illusion of color. We just have the one tiny cube.
Might come out.
There was never any artifacting.
It does. I in other AGD games, I've had the other artifacting on, and it just causes a little bit of color fringing around a bunch of the stuff.
Right, like the unreadable text when you try to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You drink 5 cans of Jolt Cola, and it'll be in color.
All the sugar and twice the caffeine.
What? Who says it's dark?
So that is in the AGD conversion pack 64. I will put a link to it in when I post this on Discord. So, and you can use keyboard or joystick with it. So,
is there a super sprite version of it?
There might be. I don't know. I don't have a super sprite
that
board.
Would run under MAME with color for even folks who don't have super sprites.
I haven't actually looked. There might be. So this is from 2023. So I haven't looked at I don't keep a lot of track of the super sprite ones because I don't have real hardware for that. So
why not?
Are there deluxe sprites?
There's Ron Deluxe sprites.
Yeah. Which would be nothing, pretty much.
Anyway, so I'll be posting a link to that a little bit later because, yeah, I just have to do the rest of this stuff first. So we will be playing that for 2 weeks, and we'll be playing Bonka for 1 more week. So now I guess we move on to the gaming news. Okay, so I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do this. I don't have enough screens. So I want that. You'll have to bear with me while I try and do this. Okay, There. Okay, so that should be coming through now.
Yep.
So, Aquanaut 471 on YouTube uploaded a bunch more 3-minute videos of Dragon games, including cassette artwork, for those that he had the original cassettes for. Oh, I'm on the wrong. There. That's the one I want. I think. Are we seeing the Aquanaut 471?
Yep, that's working.
Okay. Okay, there we go. So, as you can see, actually in the last couple of hours, he's even uploaded a bunch more. And a couple of days. So in the last week, he's uploaded a whole bunch of these. So, let's see here. Here, let's just take a look at Star Swoop. So he's recorded game footage of that. I think we've played this one before.
Yeah, we have.
So if you want to see stuff like that, like just so quick little game footage videos and some stuff about let's see, does he actually include the so there's the king. So I guess his thumbnails include the actual some of the for the ones that he has the actual cassette covers. For the ones that he doesn't have, that's just the games. So yeah, definitely if you're interested in just taking a look at some games that might be fun to try out, which I do actually look at this sometimes when I'm looking for games that maybe we want to play. It's a good place to just get a quick 3-minute little teaser of the games.
Cool.
So Expertech covered ice hockey for the CoCo. This was originally sold by Intellectronics and later by a Computerware. It's based on the Activision Atari 2600 game. This is the Computerware version he's playing here. So well, there we go. So I think a little while ago, Coconut Bob was playing this on the Game On Challenge. Just for fun, because we got talking about hockey games that the CoCo had. So I can't say that. Sorry,
he needs a green screen, so it's more calming.
I don't know. That reminds me of the old Apple computers with the amber screen like that.
Nick, no one would enjoy calm hockey.
No.
Yeah, hockey's not exactly the most calming of games.
Yeah, that's right.
Went to a hockey game once, or went to a fight once, and a hockey game broke out. Okay, so the next one that we have is Luminous on YouTube did a speed run of yet another text adventure game. This time it is Wet T-shirt contest, so I'm just not going to play the video because
Sorry. David Ladd.
It's all text game, but yeah, it has some crude stuff it talks about in the game, so I think we can skip actually showing that in here.
Wet T-shirt text game is kind of missing the point, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is from Misadventure series that was ported to multiple computers. This one did have a map feature. Let's see, where was I? This one did have a map feature that was an improvement on previous games in the Misadventure series. These games are all PG-13s or R-rated text adventures. So this game can actually quick scroll between rooms. So yeah, if you want to check that out, you can check that out. Check out the notes for the news for a link. I'm just not going to play it here. Now, the next one is Jim Gary. He has been busy. So Jim Gary did multiple game ports on the MC10 in the past week. The first one is Fantasyland. This is originally by Canadian Vince Sorensen in 1982 for the C64, which was a very early game for the C64. Jim added automatic word wrap and corrected some spelling mistakes from the original text adventure game. So, yeah, it's a text adventure, so. Now, tied to Fantasyland is Jim's Canadian Early Basic Programs webpage. So this features a bunch of programs for a variety of 8-bit machines originally written by Canadian authors. Jim has covered most to run on the MC10. So as you can see, he's been digging up all the different games that Canadians made. A little bit of Canadian pride. And there's a lot of them.
93.
93, yep. And the next game that Jim did is Labyrinth. This is converted from the French 1982 game for the Sanyo PHC 25. Curtis says he's not positive, but it could be in SG6, 64 by 48. So this is an actual graphical game. So it's a 3D graphical game. There. Takes a little bit. It's a basic game, so it does a little bit of time to draw each time, but as you can see, it's basically just moving around a maze and trying to find your way out.
That.
And I guess you can't touch the walls. And the next one that he did is Air Defense. This is originally for a 4K CoCo and published in Compute magazine from the April 1983 issue. It's written by T.L. Wall. Jim worked on speeding it up a bit and to use the keyboard instead of joystick controls. So it's like a version of Missile Command, but
the bombs fall vertically.
Yeah, the missiles only fall straight down, which... And you don't see yourself shooting, you just have to hit the end of the line. But a very, very colorful version of this. And the next one, we're still on Jim Gary, is Dante's Inferno. Originally by Gerard Bernor from the January 19 issue of Softside magazine, written in late 1979. This text adventure had some minor touch-ups by Jim. Now, this video does have a complete walkthrough of the game, so if you don't want to spoil it, don't watch the whole video. So there's also a write-up of Dante's Inferno on the game site Ranga in Blue, including the fact that it was called a CompuNovel. Text adventure wasn't the solidified term at the time that this was made. So that's interesting. It's a text adventure game before text adventures were a thing. And there's a complete map of the game.
There's Dante himself.
Yeah. So as you can see, it's a pretty expansive game for that early. All right, and now we have ZX Frankie, and he is the guy that does high score attempts, and this time he did an attempt for Starship Chameleon, and he used Real Dragon hardware, and he did attempts here for both on level 1 and level 2. So that's skill levels that you can choose in this game. So we have played this one in the past as well, and yeah, so he lists it right in his title there that level 1 he scored 44,600 and level 2 he scored 37,500. So if you remember this game, it's an interesting one where the aliens drop bombs on you and you have to change your color to be able to catch them. If you're the wrong color when you catch it, it kills you.
What happens when you miss a bomb?
I can't remember. Does it just explode on the ground, I think, and you don't get any points?
And you get no points, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It gets more and more hectic as it goes on. And of course, they also shoot little bullets at you that kind of track you. And if they hit you, it kills you.
Them. Yeah.
And the next one we have here is a YouTube short by Ed MI on YouTube. Put up a short playing Richard Kelly's that's Retro Rick on the CoCo Discord. Killer Bouncing Balls that was covered last week. It's a basic shoot 'em up based on an earlier T&D game. So if you were paying attention to the show last week, you'll have seen when we covered this.
And he has a door on his monitor.
Yeah, I think it's fake.
It's AI. Yeah.
AI, that's an AI door. And then the last one that we have to cover here is from Nostalgia Vault. And if you want to kill off almost as much time as you would spend watching a show of the CoCoNation here, this is a 4-hour video. And
4 hour.
Yeah, he posted a lengthy video called The Media List, Episode 9, which contains a ton of CoCo and MC10 content. Educational games, and even some demos. The CoCo-related contest lasts for almost an hour and a half. So it runs from 7 minutes and 30 seconds to 1 hour 31 minutes. The rest of the almost 4 hours is more modern platform gameplay. He even plays some of the early Disney multimedia educational CoCo 1 games, including the tape audio. So, let's see.
Yeah, there's your Frogger.
Plays a bunch of the Inufuto games. Even some of the stuff. So he covers a lot of the stuff that's come out really recently too. Like this is George Jansen's 2048. There's some more Inufuto stuff. So I actually haven't had the time to watch this whole thing yet, so I'm not sure what all he was going over here, but it's a good mix of a lot of the CoCo stuff. Early to very modern. And yeah, I think that is everything that Curtis sent me to talk about today.
You know, when I hear Nick make comments on some of these games, I'm thinking to myself, is he thinking about making a game and including parts of this game to it? I just wondered. Tell us, Nick, what are you thinking?
No, not really.
No.
Although it's interesting to always, if you're thinking about making games, to look at what has come out there, and it
And
might
see
be an
if we can-
interesting play mechanic to throw into something.
Maybe have an idea of I can do that a bit differently or better or whatever.
Yeah, just turn it from a frog into a Joey.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, that's all I have for the Game On Challenge stuff, or for the game news. So,
And I think that's everything we had for the show.
Kind of ran out of show, haven't we?
yeah. Well, sorry that I couldn't drag that out longer, but I'm just not as talkative as Curtis.
Big Blue Room is still out here.
All right. Well, what do you say we put a fork in this one?
Okay.
Okay.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server.
CoCo forever.
Okay. Well,
done.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, everybody. Now you have to go out and see the sun and the day and everything.
Stand up
interact
and
with people
walk
in
and
real
stuff?
life.
I don't know.
No.
There's 4 little holes in us where the fork went in.
No.
All right. Well, next week I will not be here. I will be at VCF
What?
Southwest.
Who will be the button pusher?
Hopefully I will
Marco.
be. That's my plan.
All right,
Marco Button.
So I will attempt to do a walk around, assuming I can get enough bandwidth, which was an issue last year.
Right.
Yep. It continues to be
Should
an
I-
issue with these shows.
Should I make myself available in case your button pushing is not pushing buttons?
Yeah, that might be a good idea. So
Okay.
I'll do
But
some
I would
testing.
be confused if it's not a Mark pushing the buttons.
Yeah.
It's a Sloopy that'll just confuse me.
Hey, I didn't know. I was never asked, so I.
We can call you Mark. I mean,
Yeah, we're gonna have to change your name, Sloopy.
Maybe it'll improve your rating to 0 minus
you
0.
are now Mark Sloopy Malibu. Yes.
All right. Well, talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.